Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Everyone's job change. Halo Master, I am a forbidden area. Chapter 71. After finally getting rid of a group of polite and enthusiastic senior brothers and sisters, Andong returned to the dormitory accompanied by Luan Bingbran. However, before arriving at the dormitory, I saw that my dormitory number 1 seemed to be surrounded. Many outer disciples gathered at the door of dormitory number 1 as if watching the excitement. From a distance, someone seemed to be shouting something. Senior brother Andong. Andong is back. The sharp-eyed outer disciples soon saw Andong, their eyes lit up and they shouted loudly. Andong, hee, let me tell you quietly that I have made a lot of money. I will support you tomorrow. Jia Shaoxi's eyes lit up, she walked up to him and whispered. He also winked at Andong, but Andong clearly felt that this guy had some bad intentions. He looked like he was watching a good show. Andong glanced at Jia Shaoxi inexplicably, and then looked at the many outer disciples surrounding him with similar expressions. Seeing the figures in the center through God's perspective, I already had some guesses in my mind. Senior brother and, it seems they are all here for you. Luan Bingbran blinked. As an inner disciple, she could tell at a glance that someone was probably not convinced by Andong's chief disciple. This is obviously a plot to compete for the top disciple. This kind of thing is not surprising. After all, the benefits of the chief disciple are undoubted. Apart from other things, just a salary of 1,000 points per month has made many impoverished outer disciples jealous. After all, the first thing for ordinary outer disciples to do when they get started is not to upgrade their books, but to do some tasks to earn points. Then you can start improving yourself. As for the outer disciples, the only things they can do, are basically serving tea, pouring water, and sweeping the floor. Not only is it embarrassing, but the pay is pitiful. But the chief disciple doesn't need to do this. With a monthly salary of 1,000 points, he doesn't have to do anything. I don't know how many outer disciples can't earn 1,000 points a month. In addition, there are a series of privileged operations such as opening limited time talents and entering the Tower of Babel. Even the treatment is better than that of ordinary inner disciples. In previous years, the chief outer sect disciple of each term would usually wait until the first year was over and the new students entered sacred land before choosing to be promoted to the inner sect. You can imagine how many people would covet this position. However, because Andong's performance when climbing the ladder was too exaggerated, no one came to challenge him in the past few days. But now, after nearly a week of improving myself, some second-generation people obviously feel that they are ready and have the confidence to challenge Andong. So I couldn't wait to come. Luan Bingbran blinked and glanced pitifully at the few people in the middle. These poor guys had no idea what kind of pervert they were about to face. If they knew that Andong had just finished the Babel Tower, they didn't know how wonderful their expressions would be. It's a pity that they don't know that although Andong's deeds just caused a great sensation. However, because Andong refreshed so quickly, it only took more than an hour in total. The inner disciples and above were all alerted, and even the top 10 saint children appeared. But it is obvious that outer disciples, who are on the fringes of sacred land, do not know that even those second generations. The news didn't come through so quickly, otherwise even if they had 100 courages, they wouldn't have the guts. Andong, you are just an auxiliary profession, do you deserve to occupy the position of chief disciple? Sure enough, before Andong could get closer, hearing the news of Andong's appearance, today's protagonist walked out of the crowd. Surprisingly, he is an old acquaintance of Andong. Fong Zan, who was once arrogant on the ladder to heaven, was knocked down by Andong. There are many familiar faces around, including Feng Chen, Feng Yinsha and others. Everyone showed a joking expression, as if they were watching a good show. It's not that they all stand behind Fong Zan, but they are happy to see someone taking the initiative to take the lead. It's okay if they lose. Even if they lose, they can still watch a battle and analyze the strength of both sides. Compare it with yourself to calculate the winning rate. If Fong Zan loses, do they have any hope of winning? If Fong Zan wins, someone from them will definitely challenge Fong Zan again. It's still unclear who will win in the end. I, Fong Zan, challenge you as the chief outer disciple today, and by the way, I will take revenge for climbing the ladder to heaven. Fong Zan looked arrogant, without any trace of the embarrassment he had when he was thrown off the ladder to heaven by Andong. He looked at Andong with burning eyes, vowing to avenge his shame. Fong Zan's breath exploded, and the tyrannical power of blood almost distorted the surrounding air. Immediately, a group of outer disciples who were watching the excitement took a deep breath, and those who were closer felt a little out of breath. A body's strength is affected by qi and blood and can't even use half of it. Hiss. So strong. As expected of the young master of the Dongfang family. This energy and blood, in 3 dimensions, I'm afraid it's going to exceed 10,000. Breaking 10,000, who do you look down on? No 50,000 can burst out with the power of qi and blood. Hiss. It's too strong, 50,000 3-dimensional. It's really terrifying. I heard that senior brother Dongfang has a real senior brother personally sending people to help him level up this week. I'm afraid he has already completed the 2nd level with this level of strength. Nima people are more deadly than others. I've only entered Sacred Land for a week and I've already reached level 2, and Waterma hasn't even reached level 20 yet. That's incomparable. Who makes me the young master of the Dongfang family? Tisk, 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 I heard that Anyang is just an ordinary person from a remote town. He finally got into a relationship with the Lin family, but he didn't receive such treatment. I'm afraid I'm a little confused today. Isn't it necessary to think about it? In the past, when has the chief disciple not been reincarnated among these big shots? And Yang can occupy it for a week, which is already considered very good. It's a pity. If there is a combat profession, there might still be a chance. As for the auxiliary profession, no one will spend a lot of money to train him. Feeling the atmosphere of the Oriental exhibition, many melon eaters' faces suddenly changed slightly. They were all amazed and looked at Anyang with pity. Everyone shook their heads with pity. The auxiliary occupation does not mean that the status is inferior to others, but the demand for level and equipment is not that high. Naturally, it was not taken too seriously, and over time, it was naturally inferior to the combat profession in the minds of the world. Therefore, in their opinion, Anyang's strength is obviously not as good as Dongfang Zan. Haha, I am not afraid to tell you that I have completed my 2nd rank and can be promoted to an inner disciple at any time. Listening to the praise from everyone, Dongfang Zan looked even more proud. At the same time, his eyes did not forget to glance at Fang Chen, Feng Yinsha and others with disdain. They think they don't know what they think, but in fact they don't take them seriously at all. He shows his strength to the east, and his combat prowess is unparalleled. Have absolutely invincible self-confidence. The ancestors of the Dongfang family once said that Dongfang Zan has the talent to become a god. He, Dongfang Zan, must be the well-deserved strongest man in this world of great competition. Advance all the way and defeat countless powerful enemies, and finally reach the top to become a man comparable to martial god. And Yang is just an auxiliary profession. What can you use to fight him? Did you take the initiative to give way, or did I beat you to give way? Dongfang Zan came in stride, and the onlookers quickly made way for a passage wherever he passed. The powerful and invincible momentum slowly accumulated with his footsteps, turning into an invincible force sweeping towards Anyang. Want to take advantage of the situation to pressure others. Consciously give way to understanding, and I will not care about you, my enemy who climbed the ladder to heaven in the past, and you will even be allowed to follow me in the future. Dongfang Zan was proud and incomparable. He moved in his heart and even said generously that he could give up the past grudges. After all, he is a man who has the talent to become a god, and he is destined to reach the top in the future. It requires an extraordinary mind and structure. And Yang looked at the man in front of him with a strange expression. To him, the so-called invincible momentum was almost like a breeze. I don't know where this guy got the courage to come to trouble him just after his 2nd turn. If I reveal my level, I wonder how this person will respond. And Yang was thinking about whether he should leave something out to make him retreat, but in Dongfang Zan's eyes, it was obvious that Anyang was frightened by him. He was silent, obviously thinking about how to answer. On the one hand, he felt a bit embarrassed to give in. On the other hand, he refused to give in and knew he was outmatched, so he entered a dilemma. How about giving him another step? After all, as an extremely powerful person in the future, he still needs a few personal assistants to follow him. Dongfang Zan murmured in his heart, wondering whether to give Anyang another step down. Don't be afraid, Anyang, he just found a few auxiliary professions to stack up the buffs. Just when the two of them were thinking about what to do next, Jia Shaozi, who was watching the excitement and not taking it too seriously, collapsed. While encouraging, she winked at Anyang, obviously very dissatisfied with Anyang's behavior of abandoning her and hanging her away yesterday. In this case, you give me 5,000 points, and I'll give you another enchantment. Jia Shaozi counted on her fingers and narrowed her eyes like a money addict. He looked at Anyang eagerly, not forgetting his points. Anyang glared at this guy, no wonder he just said he made a lot of money. It turns out that this matter is related to this guy. Fong Zan naturally heard what Jia Shaozi said and immediately glared at him. This guy actually took advantage of both sides, collected his own points and now turned around to benefit the enemy again. Do you think you are being taken advantage of? HMPH. Anyang, don't toast me and you will be fined with wine. If you are wise, give up your seat quickly, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Being disturbed by Jia Shaozi, Fong Zan no longer had the interest to talk nonsense. He snorted coldly and said to Anyang, as an auxiliary profession, just do your job well. Let us leave the battle to our combat professions. Anyang frowned and looked at Fong Zan, who was becoming more and more arrogant. Suddenly I felt like I didn't need to be too polite. Who else wants to challenge for the position of chief of the outer sect? How many of you are there? Let's join together. With a touch of control, his eyes included all the people behind Fong Zan. Said nonchalantly, The calm tone and arrogant words made Fong Zan and others slightly stunned. Then he reacted and became furious. Good boy, what a loud tone. Such an insult to me. Arrogant, it's just an auxiliary profession, how great do you really think you are? Haha, you are really young and frivolous, how dare you be so arrogant? A guy who doesn't care about life or death dares to speak so arrogantly. Several people were stunned for a moment, then became furious. Some people laughed angrily and glared at Anyang as if he were looking at a dead person. If today was not the home stage of the Oriental exhibition, they would almost have to teach Anyang a lesson. I don't know whether to live or die, since you don't know. Anyway, don't blame me for being rude. Fong Zan also sneered, his eyes slightly narrowed with a cold light. I feel that I may be too talkative, but this auxiliary profession is so arrogant. He even dared to threaten a few people to come together. Come on to the ring. Today, Mr. Japan will let you know what a fighting profession is. Fong Zan was obviously prepared. He stretched out his hand and a block-shaped object flew out. Facing the wind, it was like Shu Chong Chun's Law Treasure flying shuttle. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge arena hundreds of meters long and wide and landed with a crash. Law Treasure, ring, and Yang's eyes lit up. He didn't have much interest in equipment. But I am very interested in magical things like Law Treasure. However, Law Treasure is a high-end product. With his strength, he is not qualified to contact him yet. He knew that this arena was a public facility of Jushao Sacred Land. Everyone only needs to pay a certain amount of points to apply for it, and the function is very simple. That is to limit the aftermath of the battle between participants on both sides within the scope of the arena, without causing any damage to the outside. Secondly, the arena has a protection mechanism. The losing team is forced to retain a little blood to avoid death. It can be regarded as a way of protection for disciples in sacred land to learn from each other and fight with each other. It has a wide range of uses. Come up. Fong Zan jumped onto the ring with gorgeous and smooth movements. It immediately aroused a lot of applause. Don't overestimate your capabilities. And Yang shook his head, in order to avoid such trouble in the future. He knew it was time to show his strength. Patting Luan Bingran's jade hand, the intersect sister Chao smiled and let go of Yang's arm. With an expression of watching a good show. Come on. Levitation. And Yang rolled his eyes speechlessly and whispered in his heart. The levitation technique that had not been used for a long time was activated, and the body stood up from the ground and walked into the sky step by step. Just like there are steps invisibly, walking easily and contentedly. But it made the surrounding outer sect disciples freeze in their eyes. One jumped onto the ring, and the other stepped onto the ring with his feet in the void. A fool can tell who is stronger and weaker when comparing the two sides. HMPH. It's so fancy. Fong Zan's eyes narrowed and he couldn't help but snorted disdainfully. Let's start. And Yang is too lazy to argue with him. He now has more than 200,000 points in his hand. Next, I am not in a hurry to upgrade, but plan to go to another secret realm in Sacred Land to improve my skill level. Hao Zhao Zhao helped Shu Chong Chun complete the 5th turn mission. Li Hao Hao. I'm so busy, how can I have time to talk to Fong Zan here? IV30 Sword Master, Eastern Exhibition. Senior brother and, please give me some advice. Fong Zan looked ugly and suppressed the desire to get angry. With one move in his right hand, a 7-inch long sword with a palm width appeared in his hand. The giant sword was like blood and shone with a hazy red light. One look at it and you know it's something special. IV52 Aura Master, and Yang. Please. And Yang also showed his level, and the sacred jade blue bag book appeared in his hand. It was a gift in return. Then don't blame me, How many levels? Fong Zan's expression was slightly cold, his sword was in the air and he was about to take action. But he suddenly came to his senses and looked at Yang in disbelief and asked. But there is no need for Yang to answer. According to the regulations, when competing in the ring, the level and profession of both parties will be forced to be displayed. There is a big V52 floating above Yang's head at the moment. 52. Fong Zan was immediately dumbfounded and stared at the rank on Yang's head. It's useless to speak with stammering words. How is it possible? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. It's only been a week, how can you reach level 52? Even if there is an unlimited supply of double experience potions, it's still impossible. I must be dazzled. Fong Zan murmured to himself in disbelief and rubbed his eyes unwillingly. After taking a closer look, Yang's head is still at level 52. 50 level 2. Ring. Hiss. How long has it been since you were promoted to level 52? It's almost the 3rd level now, and I'm going to join the core disciples directly. How is it possible? How is this done? What a cheat. It must be a cheat. How can it be upgraded so fast? It's impossible to level up so quickly even if you keep grinding dungeons 24 hours a day. It's already level 50. 52. Not 25. Looking at the grade mark above Yang's head, a group of outer disciples in the dormitory area who were watching the excitement suddenly went into an uproar. Everyone rubbed their eyes vigorously and couldn't believe their eyes. This scene is really outrageous. It has only been a week since everyone came to Sacred Land. Most of them spent a few days doing tasks to earn points. Nowadays, anyone who can complete a turn is considered lucky, and as for upgrading, he can't even hope for it. Even those second generations are famous among the freshmen. The levels have increased rapidly, and most of them have been directly promoted to level 30. Some are making fast progress, such as the Oriental Exhibition, which has completed its 2nd round. This is a speed that has shocked countless people. But compared with Yang's 52nd score, this result is nothing to mention. 52nd level. Luan Bingran was also a little surprised at this time. She could have imagined that Yang was at a very high level. But I didn't expect it to be so high. But if you think about it carefully, it seems normal. After all, Yang is a monster who can reach the 1,000 floors of Babel Tower in one go. And the speed is outrageous. It is definitely not like they can carry it for half a minute. Instead, just kill all the monsters to clear the level. The total number of monsters in 1,000 layers is at least hundreds of thousands, and their level is far higher than that of Yang himself. It can be said that every level of Yang is a leapfrog killing of monsters. In addition, the special experience of the monsters in the Babel Tower is twice that of the outside. It is equivalent to bringing a double experience buff, and it is normal to reach level 52. 52. Jia Shaozi's eyes almost bulged out from her side. She was still worried about the scene yesterday when she had no money and Yang was ruthlessly abandoned. Today Fong Zan asked her to spend money on a buff and wanted to challenge Yang. She agreed as soon as her heart moved. She thought that she would just give Yang another step later, but she didn't expect that Yang would not give her any steps. A disgruntled person has already come on stage. She was secretly regretting it, fearing that Anyang would lose his position as chief disciple due to her own reasons. But I never expected that Anyang would be directly promoted to over 50 levels after not seeing him for a day. How is it possible that cheating is not that fast? It was only level 29 yesterday. Jia Shaozi looked confused, her mouth slightly opened and she couldn't imagine her eyes. I feel like there must be something wrong with me, or the world has gone crazy. Leveling up more than 20 levels in one day is something I would never dare to do in my dreams. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How can you be higher than me? But the most shocking thing is Fong Zan on the stage. His eyes were lifeless and soulless. He felt as if he had worked hard to master a unique magic skill and was ready to seek revenge against his opponent. It turned out that the other party had already mastered 1870 magical skills. The blow was so severe that he couldn't recover for a long time. Nothing is impossible, why don't we fight? Anyang glanced at him lightly and asked angrily. Fong Zan was suddenly shocked, and his eyes finally slowly focused. He stared at Anyang with red eyes, his face changing. It seems like there is some fierce struggle going on inside. It's so perverted. We're afraid it will be difficult. The second-generation people in the audience looked at this scene and couldn't help but sigh. The level gap will bring about powerful attribute suppression, with a level difference of more than 20 levels. It would be fine if the opponent were an ordinary person, but it was Anyang. The winning rate of Dongfang exhibition is basically zero. Even in the age of great strife, we didn't say there would be such a perverted monster. Fang Chen couldn't help but complain. When he was in Yuzhou, he thought that Fang Chen was also a dragon among men. He is even praised by the family elders as an unprecedented genius in the Fang family, and will be able to lead the Fang family to a higher level in the future. As a result, he was hit hard several times by Anyang at the trial site, which almost made him lose his confidence. After the trial, his ranking was barely 10th, which caused a huge gap for him. After finally arriving in Sacred Land, with the help of the family elders, my strength improved by leaps and bounds, and I had hope of defeating Anyang. However, reality gave him another deep blow. This pervert is even more perverted. He had just reached level 30 and completed his second turn. This guy was inexplicably promoted to level 52. It's almost the third turn. What the hell are you still playing Every time there is a big world, there must be dozens of strong people competing, and finally one will stand out. But now, another strong man sighed, his eyes slightly lonely. The calculation just now was very good, but human calculations are not as good as God's calculations. No one could have imagined that Anyang would be so outrageous. When you talk about the Oriental exhibition, how will you choose it? One person smiled bitterly and looked at Fong Zan, who had a gloomy expression on the ring. Suddenly I felt a little sympathy for the other party, and at the same time I was very happy. Fortunately, they were not the ones who took the initiative, otherwise, they would be the ones standing on the stage facing the choice now. There is no turning back when you shoot. Now that you have taken action, no matter what situation you face, this battle is inevitable. Feng Yinsha shook his head slightly and became serious, which was rare. Otherwise, he wouldn't be Fong Zan. The others nodded slightly, it was indeed true. As the second generation, especially the second generation of such a large CGDG family, they are not just talented people and backgrounds as many envious people think. Each person's character and education are given by the strong. Regardless of their character, at least they have all the attitudes that a strong person should have. Fong Zan is arrogant and self-willed. But his fighting talent is not weak, and he never lacks the courage to fight. Sure enough, Fong Zan on the stage told them with practical actions. Fong Zan is a man of war. Anyang, you are very strong. Fong Zan took a deep breath, his expression finally solidified. But I, Fong Zan, am not a rookie either. Level does not represent strength. I, Fong Zan, may not be weaker than you. If you want to fight, then fight. Start, Fong Zan shouted loudly, pointing the tip of the long sword in his hand to the ground. A golden light emerged from his body, turning into a golden bell-like light that enveloped him. Taishu Dragon Wall. It was a skill that he had met once before. Anyang remembered that it should be a damage reduction skill. This time the light is brighter and it seems to be a higher level. Dancing willows in the returning wind. Fong Zan looked solemn and took the lead in adding a defensive skill to himself. Then he waved the long sword in his hand, and the sharp sword energy spurted out. Like willow catkins, it stabs towards Andong, trying to cover it. What skill is this? Andong was astonished. He was considered a top student after all. I know a lot about the skills of many professions, but I have never heard of these two skills. But he didn't need to know too much. The moment Dongfang showed his hand, it has been automatically marked as immolation or as enemy, and then horrific damage instantly floated from Dongfang Zan's head. Critical hit. -3,841,212. Batter. -3,841,212. Batter. -3,841,212. Well, as soon as Dongfang Zan jumped up, the surging sword energy dissipated like bubbles. His body was shaken, and the familiar feeling of death came over again. With a scream, Dongfang Zan fell directly to the ground, his health bar was instantly emptied, and he couldn't even lift up any strength. Andong win. Eastern Exhibition defeat. The arena slowly disappeared, leaving only the announcement of the result. If this wasn't an arena, Dongfang Zan wouldn't be able to die all the time. Hiss. The battle starts quickly and ends faster. Dongfang Zan's vast sword energy floated up, and before the onlookers below had time to comment or praise, it has already been defeated. The defeat was so sudden and so quick. It's so surprising. The whole place was completely silent, except for countless gasps of air. I read that correctly, right? More than 3 million damage. Hiss. More than 3.8 million damage. Critical hits, combos, this is a joke. I can't even deal 10,000 damage now, how many millions does he have? What kind of skill is this? Didn't you see Andong move? I'm afraid you have forgotten what his profession is. He is Aura Master. Could it be Immolation Aura? When did Immolation Aura become so powerful? Whatever it is Aura, it's just such a terrifying damage, could it be area damage? Slip away, you are such a monster. The sword has millions of critical hits and several consecutive hits. What the hell do you call this auxiliary profession? Go and get some sleep. Whoever loves you, chief disciple, will want it. After a short period of silence, the whole city was boiling again. Just like a drop of water dropped into a boiling oil pan, the whole place exploded. When Andong showed his level, everyone could already foresee the outcome of this battle. But it's one thing to know that Dongfang has been defeated, but it's another thing to be defeated so completely. He didn't do anything when he came up. He just dropped 10 Dongfang Zan in seconds. What the hell? People can't help but wonder if Andong is really in the same class as them. The gap between them as freshmen is too big. If this gives birth to me, how can it give birth to Andong? The second generations were collectively silent as they watched this scene. It was not just Dongfang Zan himself who was defeated in the arena, but also Dongfang Zan himself. It also represents them. Some people sighed and could only let out a cry of despair. The others nodded in sympathy, as if they were seeing an unattainable mountain blocked in front of them, and their whole lives will be shrouded in the shadow of this mountain. Looking at Dongfang Zan lying on the ground with a lifeless look on his face, they couldn't help but let out a look of sympathy. If they were still shrouded by the shadow of the mountain, then Dongfang Zan was probably suppressed alive by this giant mountain. That feeling is so terrifying and suffocating. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge? Andong glanced across the city, landed on Fang Chen and the others and asked lightly. Words as plain as water, temperament as misty as clouds. Coupled with the astronomical figures that had just dissipated, they were like demons in hell. It makes countless outer disciples fear him like snakes and scorpions. One by one, they all looked away, not daring to look at Andong at all. Some of the timid ones who had been nagging just turned their necks and quietly turned around and slipped away. Afraid of being noticed by Andong if he stays, both of them are freshmen but their status and strength are already far apart. Difference. If they offend Andong, they will definitely live a life worse than death. A group of second-generation people who were just stared at by Andong suddenly became more excited. They wanted to escape, but in the end they still couldn't let go of their dignity. Everyone looked ugly and flushed. In the end, Fang Chen was the first to stand up and express his opinion. Senior brother An's strength is unfathomable, and he deserves to be the chief disciple of the outer sect. Fang Chen is worthy of being the most adaptable to the wind. Except for the fact that he was not prepared to suffer a loss the first time. The other times, they cleverly avoided confrontation and chose to give in. It's just that he didn't even think that if he retreated. From now on, I can only retreat again and again. Whoever dares to dissent, I, Fang Chen, will be the first to disapprove. Fang Chen handed over his hand to De Lingran, and at the same time he did not forget to glance at the other second-generation people around him. Immediately, a group of second-generation people screamed in their hearts and gnashed their teeth. The whole place was quiet. Except for Fang Chen, everyone else was not familiar with Anyang after all. They just remained silent in the face of Anyang's questions. Although they didn't speak directly, their lowered heads already explained their attitude. Very good. I hope such boring things won't happen again in the future. Anyang nodded with satisfaction and ignored them. Heluan Bingran said goodbye and prepared to go back to the dormitory. He hadn't had time to check the rewards from Babel Tower. There is a key to the Tongtian River, and once you hear it, it is extraordinary. Jia Shaozi suddenly came back to her senses at this moment. When she saw Anyang walking over, her neck suddenly shrank. With a guilty conscience, I instinctively want to run away. Come here. Anyang raised his eyebrows, grabbed the back of Jia Shaozi's neck and lifted her up like a chicken. Ah, Jia Shaozi lives up to her name. Although her personality is masculine, her height is there. Anyang picked her up with one hand, but her feet couldn't touch the ground. She could only shrink her neck and look at Anyang pitifully as she began to beg. Anyang, brother Yang, have mercy on me, I know I was wrong. I didn't want to either, it was just that he gave too much. Jia Shaozi looked sad, a little on the verge of tears. Just now, I was quietly worried about whether Anyang would be defeated, but I never expected that this guy would be so perverted. Fong Zan, who had been so arrogant just now, didn't even resist at all, and the enchantment he had worked so hard to bless was even useless. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have revealed it. After all, if I hadn't told him, Anyang probably wouldn't have discovered it. Stop talking nonsense, you are very brave. Anyang deliberately grimaced and carried Jia Shaozi back to the dormitory. A group of guys watching the fun immediately looked at Jia Shaozi sympathetically and observed 3 seconds of silence for him. Then left in a hurry. You dared to seduce the enemy today, and you gave them buffs even though you knew it was to deal with me. Back in dormitory number 1, Anyang threw him on the bed. He asked in a ferocious manner. Tell me, how to solve this matter. What do you want to do? Jia Shaozi looked at Anyang, who was walking towards him with a grin, and then looked at the soft big bed beneath him. A bad thought suddenly appeared in my mind. Don't. I treat you as a brother. You can't. My hobby is girls. Jia Shaozi was ashamed and angry, almost crying but without tears. What do you think I want to do? Of course. Anyang pretended to be fierce and slowly approached with a ferocious smile. He straightened the waistband of his pants with both hands, and Jia Shaozi was immediately frightened. Her pink face turned red with embarrassment, and her delicate body retreated repeatedly. The originally decent clothes unknowingly leaked out half of my leg during the struggle, but I didn't know it. I was so scared by Anyang that I almost cried. Don't come over. What do you want to do? I can do anything you want, as long as you don't come over. Seeing Anyang preparing to pounce, Jia Shaozi immediately turned his head and screamed. Oh, you can do anything, that's what you said. Anyang showed a smile that showed his scheming was successful, and finally stopped approaching. Anyang, you scared me. Only then did Jia Shaozi react, and her pretty face turned red with anger. Feeling ashamed and angry, he grabbed the pillow and threw it at Anyang. At this moment, she seemed to have returned to her daughter's body. She breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, she felt a hint of loss. This is what you said, you can do whatever you want. Anyang smiled evilly. He is not a pervert. Naturally, I won't have any evil thoughts towards a tomboy. After all, this guy looks like a man except that his body is female. The airport on my chest seems flatter than my own. He would only be interested in this kind of thing unless he is the same person. HMPH, tell me what you want me to do. Jia Shaozi took a deep breath and asked, suppressing the anomaly feeling in her heart. It's very simple, help me add a buff to someone. Quote. That's it. Listening to An Yang's request, Jia Shaozi suddenly stared at him with wide eyes and disbelief. I simply can't believe my ears about the law manifestation. Catch me and scare me like this just to give me a buff. Jia Shaozi was angry and anxious. This time she was really about to cry. Why don't you just add a buff? You should have told me earlier. The kind with no money. And Yang looked at Jia Shaozi with a wicked smile, he didn't know why. I always think this girl is quite funny, so I just want to tease him. If you don't have money, you don't have money. When did you give money? Jia Shaozi said angrily, but this sentence sounded awkward. After saying this, she even made herself blush. Well, I'll leave if there's nothing else to do. Come back to me when you want to join me. Jia Shaozi's face was slightly red, and she felt itchy all over when An Yang looked at her. His voice became smaller and smaller as he spoke, and he lowered his head like a quail. Leave in a hurry. An Yang looked at Jia Shaozi's back in a funny way. This girl is not tall, only over 1.5 meters tall. He looked like a small potato in front of him, but his skin was fair and rosy. Coupled with the short hair and carefree personality, it does have a different kind of beauty. Outside dormitory number 1, the crowd gathered in a hurry and dispersed. When the figures were almost gone, Fong Zan, who was completely defeated, gave up pretending to be dead and stood up in embarrassment. The remaining second-generation people looked at him sympathetically, with expressions of sadness but no sarcasm. Because Fong Zan is just a microcosm of all of them at this moment, mocking Fong Zan is also mocking themselves. What are you doing that makes you so embarrassed? A young man with a strong aura descended from the sky and looked at a group of boys and girls with unsightly faces in surprise. T.S. Fong Zan smiled bitterly and hesitated to speak when he saw the visitor. I've met Senior Brother Dongfang. Hello, Senior Brother Dongfang. 21. Several other people looked solemn and quickly saluted and said hello. The person who came was unexpectedly a disciple of the Dongfang family and Dongfang Zan's eldest brother. It has been 3 years since I entered Sacred Land, and now I have become a true disciple. It is said that the ranking is not low and has the potential to compete with Saint Child. Even if you are not very familiar with them, you have heard about them more or less among the big families. At this moment, you should bow when you see emotions and reasons. You're welcome. Something big happened in Sacred Land. Why are you all gathering here? Dongfang Qingkang waved his hand casually and said solemnly. Our affairs are all trivial matters. Senior brother, please tell me first. What's the big matter? Fang Chen and others looked shocked. It was a big deal to be praised by a true disciple. It is definitely not a trivial matter, it is definitely something that can affect most of the disciples in Sacred Land. Compared with such a big event, the fact that a group of their outer disciples suffered a defeat seemed insignificant. Even Dongfang Zan couldn't help but feel sad secretly. He steeled himself and looked at his elder brother. Curious, an anti-celestial beast appeared in Sacred Land. He challenged the Tower of Babel for the first time and reached level 1000. Dongfang Qingkang nodded and told the matter immediately. Although this matter did not have much impact on him, a top-ranked true disciple. But An Yang was still an outer disciple after all, so he had to give a warning to these new second-generation disciples. This kind of person is even afraid of their real biography. If nothing happens, An Yang may be able to compete with them in less than a year. Don't be offended by your younger brothers and sisters during this period, otherwise you will definitely suffer a big loss. Hiss. What? Reached level 1000 in the first challenge. The second generation were immediately shocked and took a deep breath. 1000 passes, isn't it said to be the threshold for true disciples? How can you have such strength for the first time? Dongfang Qingkang was also amazed. Recalling the scene just now, he still feels extremely shocked. Who can enter the Sacred Land but is not a genius selected from 10,000? The lowest level is also the starting point for the hidden combat profession. But there is a difference between genius and genius. Compared with this monster. Even though he is arrogant, he can only look up. Not only that, normal people try to survive the Tower of Babel for 30 seconds to clear the level, but this guy, he just kills all the monsters. And they're all instant kills. It takes less than 2 hours to clear 1,000 floors. Dongfang Qingkang shook his head, his eyes a little lonely. Hiss. Several people took a breath of cold air again. If these words were said by others, they guarantee that they will just roll their eyes and ignore it. After all, the knowledge possessed by the second generation is far beyond that of other people. They all know very well what the Tower of Babel means. Instant kill clearance and normal clearance are two different concepts. The former's combat power is at least 10 times that of the latter. Killing the 1000th level instantly, doesn't it mean that he can directly reach the 2000th level? Even if he is a true disciple, he can be ranked high, right? Fong Zan's eyes widened and he murmured in disbelief. His eyes were filled with envy. True disciples are not easy to obtain even for second generations like them. When the quota is full, if anyone wants to enter, they have to wait until someone succeeds in turning 5 and automatically leaves the disciple title to free up the quota. Or you can only forcefully challenge as a core disciple, and the winner will replace him. You can imagine how difficult it is for the former. Rank 5 experts are now the second-tier apex level experts in the entire Dragon Kingdom. The number of rank 6 strong men in the entire Dragon Kingdom is less than 1 palm, and each of these rank 6 strong men is like a divine dragon. Basically a legendary existence. The 5th level is the strongest person in the world. The entire Jushao sacred land, including all operations of the entire Dragon Kingdom. Basically, the rank 5 experts are in charge of overall planning. Even with the foundation of Jushao sacred land, it may not be possible to produce a rank 5 expert in 3 to 5 years. Although the latter is slightly simpler, not everyone can do it. The resources obtained by true disciples far exceed those of core disciples. If you want to challenge and reverse under such circumstances, needless to say, it's difficult. Moreover, with the development year by year, the true disciples become more and more valuable. After all, those who were not strong enough were eliminated, and those who remained were naturally those with astonishing combat power. It will naturally be more difficult for latecomers to challenge. It can be said that the further you go, the more difficult it becomes for true disciples to challenge you. The last true disciple today would have ranked among the top 50 10 years ago. Even if they are the second generation, their status can no longer provide any help at this point. Most of the second generation have basically reached the end of being core disciples. If they want to go further, it is also extremely difficult. Now I heard that someone's fighting power is so incredible. From what Dongfang Qingkang meant, it was obvious that the other person was not a true disciple. How can you not be envious? Yes, even Saint Child was alarmed. Dongfang Qingkang was filled with emotion, although he was a direct disciple. But how can it be that I am extremely envious? All the true disciples were alarmed, and senior brother who, the first Saint Child, even said personally that he was far inferior to the other party. Hiss. Fong Zan and others suddenly took a breath of cold air. Who is Hu Ruian? The person who started 10 years ago has been the first Saint Child for 7 years. And the most important thing is that he is not from a famous family, but from an ordinary family. Their rise has been full of ups and downs and encountered numerous obstacles. When they were still young, they were impressed by the praises they heard from their family elders. Naturally, these admirations did not come out of thin air, but were created one by Hu Ruian. Therefore, even though they have never met before, the name Ruian has already been deeply imprinted in their hearts. At this moment, even senior brother Hu Ruian personally said that he was not as good as him. For some reason, a name suddenly flashed through their minds. And Yang seems to be like Hu Ruian, who was born ordinary but has amazing talents and incredible fighting power. The two of them actually have a lot in common. Forget it, these don't have much to do with you. I'm here today mainly to remind you, don't provoke this person, he is not someone you can afford to provoke. Dongfang Qingkang sighed, suddenly waved his hand and said. Several people suddenly looked strange, looking at Dongfang clearance a little speechlessly. Fang Chen couldn't help but curl his lips. Senior brother Dongfang, you think too highly of us. How can we provoke such people? Yes, but although it is most likely difficult to meet, it would be great if we could meet such characters. Senior brother Dongfang, I wonder who this senior brother or senior sister is. Several people looked at Dongfang Qingkang curiously. although there was a high probability that they would not have much interaction with this kind of existence. However, you still need to know some names and taboos to avoid encountering unknown people in the future. Well, Dongfang Qingkang was stunned for a moment, and then he remembered that he hadn't said who it was yet. After regaining his composure, Dongfang Qingkang coughed lightly and looked serious. It was as if he was about to say something big. Seeing his actions, Fong Zan and the others suddenly looked serious. Fong Zan, who got up from the ground in embarrassment, straightened his clothes and crown. Only then did he prick up his ears and listen carefully. You all know this person, and he is not an inner disciple or a core disciple. Dongfang Qingkang looked serious and sold for a while. He felt that these people should be able to guess what he said. However, he obviously overestimated the imagination of these people and underestimated the significance of the 1,000 floors of the Tower of Babel. Aren't they inner sect and core disciples? Are they true disciples? Are they new true disciples? Dongfang Zan looked surprised and guessed doubtfully. It's just that his expression is a little weird. If he is a true disciple, then there is nothing to say. He always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. It shouldn't be a true disciple. Although it's a bit shocking for a true disciple to reach 1,000 levels, it won't attract Saint Child's attention. Fang Chen shook his head and retorted, rolling his eyes in thought. Or is it a new true disciple? But that's not the case. A true disciple is not qualified to make senior brother who say such things. If it's not a true inheritance, and it's not the inner sect and the core, can it still be our outer sect disciple? What are you thinking? Wait a minute, outer disciple, do you think it could be that one? Are these people not stupid after all? Every word you say to me. The answer is already there. And in Yang, no, haha, it shouldn't be, no. Dongfang Zan instantly felt his scalp numb, his mouth was dry and his speech was incoherent. I asked with a dry smile, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was in Yang. The damage that just happened to me could easily cost millions. It also has critical hits and combos, and the total instant kills are over 10 million. With such abnormal output, there seems to be nothing wrong with killing the Tower of Babel instantly. But, an outer disciple reached the 1,000th floor of Babel Tower. How can others live like this? Kill 10 million instantly. In his level, can't it really be in Yang? Fang Chen swallowed and couldn't help but said. His tone was just stammering, and he felt like he was telling an outrageous joke. But his reason told him that this joke was really true. Yes, it is this year's trial champion, the chief disciple of the outer sect, and the auxiliary profession, senior brother in Yang. Dongfang Qingkang confirmed their guess, with a solemn expression and awe-inspiring eyes, he nodded. This person is too evil. There are rumors from Saint Child that he may be the second best person in Nightshade. Hu Ruian even personally commented that he is not as good as him, which shows that he is unnatural. 0. If nothing else happens, this person will be able to become a true legend within a year, and even become a Saint Child. They couldn't hear what else Dongfang Qingkang said. After getting the definite answer, the few people's heads were just buzzing, and they all looked at each other in confusion. Thinking of the scene where a few of them were planning to seize the chief disciple, they all wished they could find a crack in the ground to hide in shame. Huh, what's wrong with you? Dongfang Qingkang also noticed that several people's expressions were wrong, but he soon felt relieved. He patted Dongfang Zan on the shoulder and sighed. Don't put too much pressure on me. There are millions of people in the Dragon Kingdom, and it is inevitable that there will be a few evildoers. Look at the top 10 saint children of Jushao Sacred Land. How many of our family members can be among them? Dongfang Qingkang shook his head and sighed with emotion. It is good to be born in a big family. Innate is standing at the endpoint that most people can't reach in their lifetime. But after all, it is difficult for talents trained in a targeted manner to truly stand at the top. God is fair. Whatever you gain, you are destined to lose. On the contrary, for ordinary people born in humble circumstances, there will always be a few monsters among tens of millions of people. They have to fight for everything on their own, and not one of 100 people may be able to withstand the pressure from all parties and grow up. But as long as one of them grows up, their ability to withstand stress, adaptability and other aspects will begin to show that they are far beyond the flowers in the greenhouse. On the contrary, it is easier to reach the top. For example, among the top 10 saint children, the highest number in history was no more than 5 second-generation children. More often than not, it would be good to have 2 or 3. The top 10 saint children this year are Ling Yadong from the Lin family in Yuzhou and Mingfei from Mingjia in Liangzhou, who became the saint child. The other 8 saint children were all born into poverty, and they have made it this far step by step through their own efforts. There is no need to compare with such top monsters. No matter how talented they are only a few of them. As long as we don't offend these apex-level geniuses, the sky is vast and we may not be unable to catch up from behind in the future. Dongfang Clearance is trying its best to persuade these arrogant brothers and sisters to recognize the reality. These are all summed up from the experience he has encountered countless geniuses over the years. But the faces of Fang Chen and others are getting weirder, especially Fong Zan. My entire face turned dark, as if I was constipated. That, we have already offended. Feng Yinsha mumbled back, and couldn't help but glance at Fong Zan and his heart suddenly moved. No, brother Dongfang has already offended him. He just challenged the chief disciple of the outer sect and threatened to accept senior brother and Yang as his royal assistant. Are you crazy? Do you dare to challenge senior brother and Yang? Dongfang Qingkang's eyes suddenly widened and he looked at his brother with dumbfounded eyes. Pointing with his finger, his body trembled slightly. I opened my mouth to say something but couldn't. I just felt like the world was spinning and I almost fainted. Senior brother, don't worry too much. Senior brother and seems to have a good personality. He didn't embarrass brother Dongfang. Looking at Dongfang's clearance, several people were even more shocked. A true disciple actually calls an outside disciple senior brother. Don't worry about this. Fang Chen quickly spoke to comfort him. And Yang's name spread throughout the Jushao sacred land at an extremely fast speed. Many disciples who either went out to level up or go out for training also learned about this matter from countless friends after returning. Everyone was immediately shocked. If 1 or 2 classmates said it, they would still treat it as a joke. But everyone said this, which immediately shocked them. Many people even regretted that they went out at such a critical time. I have never witnessed this legendary scene with my own eyes. Many inner sects and even core disciples have gone to the outer sect to get a glimpse of the true identity of this legendary being. With such behavior, many inner disciples and sisters have been wandering around dormitory number 1 for a long time. Naturally, it cannot be hidden from the eyes of other outer disciples, coupled with the spread of some well-informed people. Soon, and Yang's trip to the Tongtian Tower spread among the outer disciples, leaving a group of freshmen who had just entered the school dumbfounded. Especially when I think of the mighty outer sect chief disciples of Dongfang Zan challenging. The faces of each of them are even more exciting. In dormitory number 1, and Yang didn't know that this incident would cause such a big noise. In other words, even if he knows, he doesn't care. Now he is checking the results of his trip to the Tower of Babel in his dormitory. The first is the level, which rises directly from 29 to 52. A full 23 level upgrade requires more than 10,000 times the experience required to upgrade from IV1 to IV29. Under normal circumstances, it takes at least 3 months to upgrade these 20 levels. However, now it only takes less than 2 hours, and the time saved is an unimaginable gain. Secondly, the training in the Tower of Babel made his skill level soar. The initial immolation aura and glorious aura were directly upgraded to level 7, and many subsequent auras were also upgraded to level 6. The 2 auras presented by Lin Yadong and Lin Linger have been upgraded to level 3. Even the 6 auras obtained in the Tower of Babel. All have been upgraded to level 2. Strictly counting, Qi San, he now has more than 10 skills, and his combat effectiveness has been improved beyond imagination. Name, Anyang. Occupation, Divine Aura Master. Level, IV52 18.90%. Agility, 9,100. Free attribute points, 0. Equipment, Divine Jade Green Bag Book, Frost Secret Technique, Wind Boots, Water Avoidance Bead, Level 3. Talent, the only supreme level divine enhancement LV2. The attribute points gained are increased 5 times for each level, and the skill effect and range are increased 50 times. Immolation Aura IV7. Causes 4,500 points of damage plus 160% of own attack power per second to all enemies within a 3,500 meter radius, consuming 100 mana points per second. Glorious Aura IV-7. All friendly forces within a radius of 3,500 meters recover 600 mana points per second. Freezing Aura IV-6. Triggers freezing every 3 seconds on enemies within a radius of 3,000 meters, lasting 1.5 seconds and causing damage 300 times the own intelligence value, consuming 100 mana points per second. Durability Aura IV-6. All friendly forces within a 3,000 meter radius recover 1,000 health points per second. Blessings Aura IV-6. Increases the basic attack of all friendly forces within 3,000 meters by 3,000%. Agility Aura IV-6. Increases the movement speed of all friendly forces within 3,000 meters by 3,000%. Combo Aura IV-6. All friendly forces within a radius of 3,000 meters have a 100% chance of triggering 3 consecutive hits when attacking. Critical Hit Aura IV-6. The critical hit rate of all friendly forces within a range of 3,000 meters increases by 100%, and its own effect is doubled. Critical Damage Aura IV-6. The critical hit damage of all friendly forces within a range of 3,000 meters is increased by 30%, and its own effect is doubled. Strong Attack Aura IV-6. The long-range attack of teammates within 3,000 meters increases the attack power and attack speed by 3,000%, and the own effect is doubled. Resist Aura IV-3. After use, all enemies and attacks will be pushed away 3,500 meters, and the disarming buff will be triggered for 1,500 seconds. Void Aura 3. Makes all enemies or teammates within a range of 3,500 meters enter a state of nothingness, immune to all physical damage and unable to physical attacks, and increases damage received from spells by 4,500%. Defense Aura 2. The defense of all teammates within 1,000 meters is increased by 10,000 points. Demon Aura IV-2. The spell damage of all teammates within 1,000 meters is increased by 1,000%. Silence Aura 2. All enemies within 1,000 meters are prohibited from using skills. After turning it on, it consumes 10% of its maximum mana every second. Fasting Aura IV-2. After turning it on, any enemy within a radius of 1,000 meters is prohibited from using any restorative skills or props. Glory Aura IV-2. All friendly forces within 1,000 meters increase strength, agility, and intelligence by 5,000 points each for 10 minutes. Washing Aura IV-2. Clear any negative buffs from all friendly forces within 1,000 meters, consuming 100 mana points per second. The 3-dimensional difference is almost over 10,000. Andong was slightly excited when he looked at his luxurious attributes. He had just started working for a week. Only the 3-dimensional attributes have increased almost 100 times compared to before. The total 3-dimensional attributes are close to 30,000, which was unimaginable before. This is why Lin Linger and I have been busy studying human body structure every night in the past few days and have no time to use the purple jade mineral essence throne. Otherwise, I'm afraid it could double again. However, when I reached level 50, I gained a glory, aura, which is considered a high-level auxiliary skill of Aura Master. You can directly increase the 3-dimensional attributes of your teammates, adding 500 to the first level and 1,000 to the second level. But under the influence of the Andong Divine Enhancement talent, the effect increased 50 times, directly increasing the 3 dimensions by 5,000. If this aura effect is added, Andong's current 3-dimensional attributes will be more than 14,000. Level 6 Blessings Aura increases attack by 3,000 times. Level 6 Explosive Damage Aura increases damage by 30 times. Level 2 Demon Breaking Aura increases damage 10 times. That adds up to 9,000 times the output. Andong looked at his luxurious skill panels one by one, and after a little calculation, his eyes widened. This improvement is simply the opposite of heaven level. Of course, in fact the real output cannot be calculated like this. The attack increase brought by Blessings Aura must also remove the enemy's defense to achieve the final damage. The damage caused by a critical hit is doubled on this basis. It cannot be simply calculated that one's own attack will continue to double. The same goes for Demon Breaking Aura. You also need to consider the enemy's spell defense. The actual damage dealt may be vastly different from the rigidly calculated one. But even this is enough to show that Anyang's output is terrible. If other factors are not considered. He even felt that he might be able to kill a demigod in seconds. But there is also aura of nothingness. If used properly, the output can be increased by another 45 times. Anyang was slightly excited and took a deep breath before he managed to calm down. He now has a total of 18 skills, but some of them are not actually a big improvement for him. For example, critical strike light aura is basically full when it reaches level 5. The critical strike of the sword cannot be improved if you continue to upgrade. Strong attack aura is to increase the long-range attack skills of teammates. Although his immolation aura has a range of up to 3,500 meters, it does not fall into this category. It is one of the rare skills that does not help him at all. Resisting aura is a magical skill, but the enemy is not completely helpless to deal with it. For example, he also used it on the 1001th floor of the Tower of Babel, trying to delay the enemy for a while. However, those monster race captains are not limited by the hundreds of seconds of disarming time and have ways to disarm. This shows that this skill is not absolutely effective. It's just that the effect of pushing the enemy out is real and effective, and it can also be considered a good life-saving means. Other fasting, washing, silence, etc. Aura is often not needed. After all, with his terrifying output, normal opponents would be instantly killed without any resistance at all. No use for these auras at all. Moreover, as the number of skills and levels increase, Glorious Aura is still unable to make ends meet even after reaching level 7 and regaining mana. He also has no way to keep all auras permanently turned on, and can only selectively turn on some auras. We have to return to Blue Aura. Anyang thought silently, shook his head and suppressed the thought for the time being. Then start looking at the second harvest. Monster Race Captain Set. Anyang took out a set of equipment from his backpack, which was the reward after clearing 1,000 levels. There are a total of 12 pieces of equipment in a set, which is a diamond set. Anyang was a little disappointed looking at the set attributes. For him, it was better than nothing. Monster Race Captain Set. Diamond Set. Set attributes. 2/12, plus 50%. 3/12, plus 50%. 4/12, plus 50%. 5/12, 50 plus 50%. 6/12, plus 1000. 7/12, agility plus 1000. 8/12, plus 1000. 9/12, critical hit rate plus 10%. 10/12, critical damage plus 200. 11/12, summon monster race warrior LV1. 12/12, transformation. Introduction. Monster race captain's standard equipment. With powerful power, wear it and you will become a great monster race captain. Closing square bracket. Weak ribs. Anyang curled his lips and put it into his backpack. The attribute blessing is not weak, but his demand for equipment is too low. Instead of asking for equipment that increases attributes, it would be more suitable for him to get some equipment with special functions. Such as the speed-increasing blast boots, the divine jade blue bag book with levitation. It will not be easily eliminated until there are alternatives. As for this suit, if there is a chance to put it up for auction, it might be a good choice. The equipment was put away, and Anyang took out another trophy. Key to Tongtian River. It's said to be a key, but it's actually a palm-sized token. The whole body is black, the material is neither gold nor wood, and I don't know what it is made of. The heavy one seems to be beautifully carved, with the word, Tian Tian, on the front and the word, river, on the back. Key to Tongtian River. You can enter the special map Tongtian River after use. Requirement. Available for 3 turns and above. Special map key. Anyang's eyes lit up, and it became clear that the props on the special map were extraordinary objects. What can be called special must have its special features. However, it takes more than 3 turns to enter, and he can't use it for the time being. Give me a chance and ask a senior fellow from the inner sect. There is also a fragment of the Tongtian River map, I don't know where it is. Anyang was thoughtful and took out more than a dozen Tongtian map fragments. This thing, you can get one for every 100 floors. When he cleared the 1000 floors and settled the account, he was given a few more. I have a total of 13 pieces in my hand. It's just that this thing is more perfunctory, without even any attribute introduction. and Yang guessed how many maps should be collected to make a complete map before it can be used. As usual, he threw it into his backpack and planned to find an opportunity to ask Luan Bingbran where the Tongtian River was. After packing up the loot, Yang felt a little unmotivated. I looked around with great interest, but I didn't seem to find anything useful. But Yang is not discouraged. The improvement in level is the biggest gain. Level 52, if you work harder to reach level 60, you can directly complete the third transformation. At that time, you can directly jump from an outer disciple to a core disciple, completing the triple jump. But now, I'd better go to Yongsan Pavilion to practice my skills, and strive to upgrade all the skills to level 10 as soon as possible, and then I can help the lecturer brother with the ugly task. And Yang put away all his things and silently formulated the next action plan. He is not in a hurry to be promoted to a core disciple now, because Luan Bingbran told him something before. He urgently needed a strong backer, and Shu Chong Chun, who had passed the 5th turn. Just the most suitable candidate. Someone is coming. Just as he was thinking about it, Yang suddenly felt something in his heart. There's a knock on the door. Junior brother and is indeed worthy of being the number 1 person in trials throughout the ages. We haven't seen each other for just a few days, and yet there is such a big commotion again. Opening the door, a familiar voice came. Yang suddenly smiled knowingly and said that Cao Cao's playground was just there. The person who came was surprisingly Shu Chong Chun. Senior brother Shu, please come in quickly. Yang quickly invited him into the house. Tisk, 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 your progress really surprised me. The two of them sat down separately. Shu Chong Chun looked at Yang up and down and was filled with admiration. Obviously, he was also surprised by Yang's progress. He could see Yang's extraordinary ability from the moment he first awakened. That anomalies people in the same world were unheard of based on his experience. He was impressed at first, but Yang's performance in the trial field shocked him even more. His intuition told him that this child's future would be anything but ordinary, and would even be closely related to his 5th rotation. Only then did he make an exception and come to seek help from his senior brother to recruit Yang into Sacred Land. Now it seems that Yang's progress has indeed not disappointed him. The progress was so fast that it was beyond imagination. I had only been busy for a few days when I heard the shocking news. Even many rank 5 experts in Sacred Land were alarmed, and many people silently paid attention to this newly emerging outer disciple. Senior brother Shu, have you gained any insights these days? Yang smiled and quickly changed the topic. He knew that Shu Chong Chun had not been idle these days. The sneak attack on Qingmianlu in the past and the last sniper attack by the masked man. It all shows that there are people behind Shu Chong Chun's 5th revolution, and there are also people who want to plot against Yang. Maybe there are 2 groups of people, or maybe they are the same group of people. But no matter what, it is obviously impossible for him to stay out of it. When it came to business, Shu Chong Chun's expression suddenly straightened up and his face looked a little unsightly. The person behind the scenes hasn't been found yet, but the identity of the masked man has been found out. The former master of the 9th peak, Luo Shan. Without waiting for Yang to ask further questions, Shu Chong Chun told the truth directly. Master of the 9th peak. Another new term, Yang chewed it a little confused. The 9th peak is the 9th peak of my Jushao Sacred Land, and the peak owner is the 9th Saint Child. Luo Shan, the 9th Saint Child from last year. I know that Yang was born ordinary and doesn't understand many things in Sacred Land. Shu Chong Chun explained patiently, but the answer shocked Yang. The 9th Saint Child, he is also from the Sacred Land. Yang looked at Shu Chong Chun in disbelief. In his impression, Sacred Land was still a very harmonious place. Even those 2nd generations are very measured in their actions. No one dares to kill their fellow disciples easily. As a result, a 9th Saint Child dared to kill Shu Chong Chun. Yes and no. Shu Chong Chun pondered slightly, but in the end he didn't hide anything. He used to be the 9th Saint Child, but he was already dead when I was promoted to Saint Child. Died, and Yang's heart skipped a beat, this familiar routine. A dignified Sacred Land Saint Child, with a bright future and respected by human venerable. But he chose to fake his death to escape, and now he suddenly appeared and attacked Shu Chong Chun. No matter how you look at it, there is a strong sense of conspiracy. The saint child of sacred land is not so easy to control. I'm afraid there is someone else behind it. Sacred land's saint child is not so easy to control. I'm afraid there is someone else behind it. Shu Chong Chun narrowed his eyes and spoke slowly, but what he said was shocking. If others heard it, they would be scared to death. Even Andong couldn't help but feel numb. He didn't dare to think about this sentence carefully. The person behind saint child, that is no longer a disciple, but the real ruler of sacred land. He is also the top leader of the entire dragon kingdom. The strong sense of conspiracy makes Andong's scalp numb. It's just that his strength is too low, and he is only an outer disciple now. At most, he is a relatively famous outer disciple. What kind of grudges or conflicts are they that would lead to someone inside sacred land doing this to Shu Chong Chun, the former #1 saint child? But it was a bit beyond his imagination. Senior brother Shu, do you have any big enemies in sacred land? The kind that are enemies of life and death? Andong pondered slightly and asked. He is now bound to Shu Chong Chun. Shu Chong Chun is so strong. It only means that the enemy's strength will not be weaker than him. Even if the strength in the entire sacred land reaches this level, it is estimated that there will not be too many. After a little investigation into the motives, it shouldn't be difficult to find the person behind the scenes. It's hard to say. To get to this point, too many people's interests have been touched. Shu Chong Chun shook his head slightly and said in a deep voice. And one more thing, the 5th rank is known as the road to becoming a god. Since it is a road, it cannot allow too many people to walk on it. Although there is no strict quota limit like true disciples, the emergence of new rank 5 experts means that they will rob other people's resources. There are always some despicable people who, even if there is no conflict of interest or a life and death feud, will take action to prevent the emergence of a new rank 5 powerhouse. Andong nodded thoughtfully. This was the first time he heard this news. If this is the case, then this matter will be difficult. There is no way to inquire without a motive. You don't have to worry about this. As long as the person behind the scenes continues to take action, there will always be traces. He can't escape. Shu Chong Chun waved his hand to signal Andong not to worry, and then turned his attention to Andong. I came here to tell you something else. Senior brother Shu, please speak. Andong was shocked and looked at Shu Chong Chun seriously. You are famous this time, which is good and bad. You came into the sight of true disciples too early. I'm afraid your crisis will be greater than mine next. Shu Chong Chun narrowed his eyes slightly and said with some worry. There is a limit on the number of true disciples. Your appearance is too high. In the future, it may not take too long. As long as you reach the level and be promoted to true disciples, it is almost certain. In this way, it will directly affect the interests of the lower-ranked true successors. Maybe someone will take action against you. Andong thought it was something, but after hearing this he just smiled casually. He was not sure about Saint Child, but an ordinary true successor. He is somewhat confident. Does he dare to take action in sacred land? Shu Chong Chun shook his head. No one in sacred land dares to take action, but what about outside sacred land? You can't stay in sacred land forever. As long as you leave sacred land, there will naturally be ways to send people to kill you. And if my guess is correct, many people will probably invite you to go down the mountain for training soon. You will be given tasks in the name of core disciples, and you can't refuse. But I have my own way of dealing with this situation. I will send someone to invite you in advance in 2 days, so you can reasonably refuse other people's invitations. The next thing I want to talk about is another thing, the first Saint Child Challenge. Shu Chong Chun's eyes were slightly worried. He had a way to deal with any crisis. But at this moment, there was nothing he could do. Your progress is so fast that anyone with a discerning eye can see it. I'm afraid you will be able to successfully advance to the 4th level in less than half a year. And Hu Ruian, the current No. 1 Saint Child, is expected to be able to successfully take off the position of No. 1 Saint Child within half a year at most. The number 1 Saint Child will be vacant by then. Now the 9 existing Saint Children and many top-ranked true disciples have already been eyeing it, but at this juncture you suddenly appeared. Shu Chong Chun looked at Andong meaningfully. He felt that this matter was a bit tricky. Although he is strong, in the end he is just a true disciple now. If Saint Child wanted to make things difficult for Andong today, he would not be able to stop him within a reasonable range. Senior brother Shu means. Andong pondered slightly, vaguely understanding what Shu Chong Chun meant. Let me be quiet for a while, or simply postpone my promotion to the true successor for a while. He knew very well what Shu Chong Chun's words meant. An outer disciple who behaved exaggeratedly. But he received the comment of, I am not as good as me, from Yu Ruian, the legend of sacred land today. He was immediately thrust into the limelight and became a thorn in the side of all saint child. To be on the safe side, it is not ruled out that someone might secretly attack him. And in this situation, there is nothing Shu Chong Chun can do. Therefore, he can only stay silent for a while, or simply postpone his promotion to the true successor. Only by taking practical actions to show that you don't compete with those saint children can you save yourself. It's up to you. Shu Chong Chun was noncommittal, although he thought this was the best way. But as a former genius, he knew that young and frivolous people were unlikely to accept this suggestion, and he was very energetic when he was an upright young man. To fall silent rashly is tantamount to beheading oneself. There is not much difference that can be seen at the moment. But when he reaches this stage in the future, this seed that is unwilling to accept or avoid its sharp edges gradually sprouts. Maybe it will have a very big impact. I can only advise you not to conflict with Saint Child in the short term. Saint Child's strength is beyond imagination. You must have seen the combat power on the 1001th floor of the Tower of Babel. At this level, many combat powers are beyond what the data can show. Andong nodded and suddenly chuckled, looking at Shu Chong Chun with bright eyes. Senior brother Shu, if you turn 5 within this 6 months, maybe you can protect me. Shu Chong Chun's eyes widened and he stared at Andong. My breathing is a little quick. He knew Andong's character and would never say anything without reason. Now that we have said this, it means that Andong is very confident. You can be promoted to the Elder of Sacred Land at rank 5, to truly be in charge of a party, above Saint Child. As long as you don't offend the strong ones at rank 6, I can keep you safe. Shu Chong Chun's eyes shone and he said confidently. But if I want to reach 5th rank, my current strength is not enough. Even with your assistance, our strength must at least increase tenfold before we have any hope. Shu Chong Chun looked at Andong anxiously. If it weren't for his amazing determination, he would have almost couldn't help but ask. Ha, senior brother Shu, wait for me for a month, and I will definitely help you turn 5. Andong chuckled lightly and stopped teasing Shu Chong Chun. I told him directly. What? After hearing the answer in his heart, Shu Chong Chun was immediately ecstatic. At the same time, he looked at Andong in disbelief. If someone else had said this, he would definitely have been slapped with a big dick. But I'm talking about Andong, no matter how unbelievable it is. He couldn't help but believe it. Senior brother Shu, please take a look. Andong stopped talking nonsense and directly pulled Shu Chong Chun into the team. All buffs aura are fully activated instantly. Blessings aura, crit aura, explode aura, combo aura, agility aura, strike aura, glory aura, demon aura. Open, Andong shouted lowly, and all 8 auras were directly blessed by Shu Chong Chun. Today is different from the past. He doesn't believe that aura's skill levels have been upgraded several levels. It doesn't improve Shu Chong Chun's strength tenfold. Hiss. Terrifying power poured into his body, and Shu Chong Chun suddenly felt as if he had taken an aphrodisiac. My whole body is swollen and my blood is boiling. I casually looked at my property panel and took a deep breath. My eyes are almost staring. 30 times the attack, 30 times the speed, 30 times the explosion damage. 100% critical hit, 300% combo. Shu Chong Chun opened his mouth wide and couldn't help but uttered a curse word. He was almost dumbfounded. I thought Andong's support was incredible before, but compared to now, it pales into insignificance. This kind of support is truly incredible. Not to mention anything else, just 30 times the speed is enough for him to have the possibility of fighting the demigod boss. At least the speed can keep up with it, and even surpass the demigod sleeper. Not to mention the damage, 30 times the attack completely got rid of the embarrassment of being unable to break through the defense. As long as he can break through 30 times the defense and deal 3 consecutive hits, it will be enough for him to deal a lot of damage to it. Junior brother, and you are so outrageous. It took Shu Chong Chun a while to come back to his senses, and his excited body slowly calmed down. Looking at the relaxed Andong in amazement, he sighed with emotion. Such heaven-defying support. If it is handed over to the country, our dragon kingdom will have no problem conquering the world. Andong shrugged. It's not that he hadn't thought of this method. However, it may be that I was deeply poisoned by street stall literature in my previous life, and I always felt that if I revealed my talent casually, I would be sliced up like a guinea pig. Naturally, the more tightly you hide it, the better. At least you have to wait until you have some ability to protect yourself. Although the support is strong, its range is limited and not enough to support large-scale team battles. Andong returned casually, which was not considered perfunctory. This is also reality. Aura Master is not really such an incredible assistant. It is not enough for one person to handle large-scale team battles. Large-scale land reclamation is often equipped with many assistants. One person is responsible for one area. Tisk tisk. It's naturally not applicable on a large scale, but to open up wasteland and forbidden areas, you are a godlike existence. Shu Chong Chun's eyes gleamed, as if he were looking at a diluted treasure. Those eyes were so intense that they seemed to swallow Andong up. Ah, we'll talk about it later. If senior brother Shu wants to open up the forbidden land in the future, I will definitely follow him with all his strength. Looking at Shu Chong Chun so warily, he couldn't help but move back quietly. He said casually, opening up the forbidden land, maybe that day will come. Shu Chong Chun didn't pay attention to Andong's gaze, and suddenly thought of something. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. But it's not enough. A strong demigod can't be killed so easily if he has a divine character. Shu Chong Chun didn't say anything more, just shook his head and sighed slightly. Over the years, he has used countless resources and connections to complete the mission, and he has also officially fought against the demigod boss. Well aware of this weight. The terrifying thing about super bosses is that they can no longer be killed by simply improving some data in 3 dimensions. First of all, it's not enough to hit. If you can hit once out of 10 times, you're lucky. Secondly, a boss of this level will have very high damage reduction and armor. Normally, the only way to deal damage is through real damage. A month is unlikely. But half a year, so it's very promising. Shu Chong Chun's eyes flickered thoughtfully, something he had been waiting for more than 10 years. Seeing that it was finally completed, even with his strength, he couldn't help but get excited. In this way, you can upgrade as usual every day and try to achieve the 3rd rank as soon as possible. Next, I will help you get some high-level skill books. Then if you have time, you can go to Yongxing Pavilion to practice your skills. Shu Chong Chun made hurried arrangements and left in a hurry. Now that the progress has been advanced, he has to go back and make preparations. Moreover, there are still many shortcomings to defeat the demigod boss. His strength has reached its peak on his own. It is extremely difficult to improve, and these shortcomings can only be achieved through support. He wants to help Andong get some high-level skill books. Several high-level skill books. Andong was also very happy. He originally just wanted to find a backer for himself. Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected gain. The high-level skill book mentioned by Shu Chong Chun is definitely not an ordinary skill. When the time comes, his strength will be further improved, and he will be more confident in dealing with those true successors, Saint Child and the like. After sending Shu Chong Chun away, Lin Linger came again. It was obvious that Lin Linger also heard about Andong. Her big eyes flashed with surprise and admiration. Andong. Lin Linger threw herself into Andong's arms, acting coquettishly and feeling a little aggrieved and regretful. She was busy doing the second turn, but she didn't expect to miss such a big scene of Andong. Andong's eyes lit up. He was so horny after being aroused by Luan Bingran along the way. He stretched out his hand and hugged Lin Linger's waist. Lin Linger opened her fiery lips directly. After the fierce battle, Andong wandered in the mud. Only then did I know that Lin Linger had followed the Tajai Guild to clear a large-scale 3rd-level dungeon during this period. It was just for fun, but the harvest was extremely rich. Not only has the level reached level 35, but he has also completed the 2nd transfer mission. The strength has been further improved, and the total 3-dimensional total is already as much as 20,000. The equipment has also been completely updated, a beautiful level 30 epic suit. Deposit it like a golden goddess. In addition, Lin Linger also brought news that Lin Yadong's Tajai Guild recently won the qualification to open up a third-level dungeon. We are looking for people on a large scale to open up Wasteland. Lin Yadong also specially dragged Lin Linger to help invite An Yang to participate. After successfully opening up Wasteland, each person can get more than 10,000 points. Third-level dungeon land reclamation. An Yang's heart moved, remembering what Shu Chong Chun said just now. He is not sure whether Lin Yadong is among them, but he has other plans now. I plan to practice skill level first, and then consider other things after raising all skills to level 10. As for upgrading, he is not in a hurry now. Shu Chong Chun will get him a few high-level skill books, among which the ones that improve hit points are necessary. By then his shortcomings have been made up, and he can continue to clear the Tower of Babel. The upgrade efficiency is much faster than brushing a copy. As for the points, he just got a total of 200,000. And after helping Shu Chong Chun complete the 5th turn mission, you can also get a lot of rewards. There was no shortage of these 3 melons and 2 dates, so An Yang declined Lin Linger's kindness after hesitating for a moment. Okay, let's talk about it later when we have a chance. There will be quite a few dungeons for land reclamation every month, so it won't be too late to refresh them by then. Hearing An Yang's refusal, Lin Linger didn't say much. She knows that An Yang's strength has surpassed her cognition, so she naturally has her own arrangements for what to do. What she can do is to improve her strength as much as possible. Work hard to catch up with An Yang and try not to fall back. Let's talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. Today we have our own affairs. An Yang looked at the rosy girl in his arms and said with a smirk. What's the matter? Ah. Lin Linger opened her mouth blankly, but before she could finish speaking, she screamed. Her pretty face turned red with embarrassment, and she buried herself directly in An Yang's arms and became limp. It looks like anyone can pick it. Even if Saint comes, it will make your blood boil. Meteor Star Pavilion is another important location in Jushao Sacred Land. It is also one of the important resources that distinguish Sacred Land from other Kyushu universities. It is said that this place is a piece of divine-level treasure that Lord Martial God personally fought with the 6th-level powerhouses from other countries, Meteor Fire. Built around this supreme treasure. This divine-level treasure has a very special effect, that is, it can accelerate the improvement of professional skills and proficiency. Let it increase its skill level faster. For the same skill, the effects of the level 1 and level 10 you just learned are worlds apart. You can imagine its great role and precious value. The reason why Jushao Sacred Land is the highest sacred land that surpasses Kyushu University is precisely because it has many places like this. Plus it owns many dungeons and a full set of job transfer dungeons. Elder, I want to enter the Falling Star Pavilion. The Meteor Star Pavilion is not as towering as the Babel Tower. From the outside, it is just an ordinary small attic. If you were to walk here unknowingly, you would not associate it with the extremely precious meteorite flame. But once you get inside, you'll find a different grotto heaven. Meteor Star Pavilion is downwards. There was only a slovenly-looking elder sitting at the door, drowsy. An Yang greeted politely and said, the first level is 100 points per hour, which only takes effect on skills up to level 5. The second level is 1000 points, which is effective on skills up to level 10. The third level is 10,000, with a maximum of level 20. The fourth level, 100,000, can be effective on skills up to level 50. Friendly reminder, don't peek into other people's rooms at will, and don't enter the next floor easily, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences. The sloppy elder didn't even open his eyes. He spoke out the rules and regulations that he had already memorized like a wooden man. You can enter just by swiping your disciple token, and your points will be automatically deducted. Okay, next one. And Yang didn't mind his attitude too much. He nodded and walked directly inside. There is a huge stone door in the inner room. I took out the chief disciple token of the outer door and swiped it. The huge door opened with a bang, revealing a passage that looked like it was carved out of the stone wall. A wave of heat hit my face, and the passage looked red as if illuminated by flames. Follow the passage to the end and you will see a set of stairs. Standing at the end of the passage and looking down, it looks like a bottomless abyss. Only a dozen or so steps can be seen, and everything going down is pitch black. After pondering slightly, Andong walked down carefully. But everything is completely different after walking up the stairs. The firelight illuminates the place like daylight. But taking a step back, it was completely dark again, which was extremely magical. After walking dozens of stairs, a corner appeared, and everything suddenly became clear before my eyes. This is a hotel room. Andong looked at the scene in front of him with a strange expression, feeling an inexplicable sense of familiarity. The rooms were built in 2 rows next to each other, with a corridor almost 3 meters wide between the doors. Arriving at the door of the first room, the door was closed. Faintly through the crack in the door, you can see various rays of light bursting out inside, and you don't know what skills the senior brother inside is practicing. When he got here, Andong clearly felt a difference, which was a kind of suppression of skills. A bit similar to his silent aura, the skill he has kept open for a long time has been forcibly turned off at some point. At the same time, there was a very active element wandering around, but he couldn't tell what it was. Without thinking much, Andong continued walking forward. His goal is to upgrade all aura to level 10, which requires entering the second level. The layout of the Meteor Star Pavilion is exactly the same as the hotel in the previous life. I don't know if it is a coincidence or what. At the end of the corridor is the stairs that continue to go down. When I stand on it and look down, it is still pitch black. But walking up the stairs it was brightly lit again. But before Andong could stand firm, his feet just landed on the stairs. Andong's expression suddenly changed. Fire. This is meteor fire. Andong's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly discovered that a small flame appeared in his body. It is exactly the same as the meteorite fire described in the legend. A fire the size of a pinky finger burned slowly in the body, and a warm feeling spread throughout the body. But as the fire continued to burn, the fire gradually heated up. It started to spread towards the scorching heat, and then it was like a real flame burning in the body. Andong was all red and sweating profusely. Don't enter the next level easily. That's it. Thinking about what the guard at the door just said, I suddenly realized. He didn't know how meteoric flame helped professionals improve their skill levels, but this rare treasure was certainly not something that everyone could use. The use of any natural treasure will also test the body of the beneficiary. If the resistance passes, there will naturally be nothing to say. But if you can't resist it, Dabao is also very poisonous. I don't feel much on the first level, but it's a bit uncomfortable on the second level. It should still be assessed on physical fitness, which is 3-dimensional. Andong murmured to himself, this test is the most intuitive test of a person's physical fitness. It has nothing to do with your combat power, nor has anything to do with output or defense. It was quite a test for him. In terms of 3 dimensions, he only has 30,000 yuan. Not as good as a normal inner disciple, it is naturally quite difficult to enter the second level. No, this is no place for people to stay. After staying for less than a minute, Andong felt as if his mouth was dry and his whole body was about to be burned. My throat is almost smoking. This kind of discomfort is much more difficult than fighting. The flame in the body is still like a small candle, but the temperature of the flame continues to rise. When it reaches a peak, the flame flickers. A second flame actually split. In an instant, the temperature skyrocketed. Andong only felt that his whole body was not well. If he continued to stay, he suspected that he would be roasted. Just as he was about to exit, Andong suddenly realized that something seemed to be triggered in his body. This is inheritance. Time Weaver inheritance. Andong's eyes suddenly lit up, and he suddenly thought of something. He once completed an unprecedented achievement in the trial place, and was transported to a hall and received an inheritance. Mingri, the Weaver of Time. The condition for using this inheritance is level 2 IV30. He directly rose to level 50 in Babel Tower yesterday. But I have long forgotten this inheritance and have never used it. Unexpectedly, it is now passively triggered. Hiss, so cool. Andong didn't know what the rules were, but at the moment it was triggered, he was trembling all over and couldn't help but take a breath. It's like a person who is about to die of thirst suddenly drinks a large bottle of ice-cold Coke. That feeling. It's simply more exciting than the last shiver when studying the origin of life. The heat all over my body dissipated instantly, and the 2 candles in my body continued to burn. But Andong no longer feels the slightest discomfort. Activate Inheritance Time Weaver. The only hidden combat profession available, Time Weaver. Whether to accept. Closing square bracket. A sweet reminder sounded in my mind, and any being who heard it would probably be very excited and choose to accept it without hesitation. A hidden combat profession, or a unique hidden combat profession. Time Weaver. Just by hearing the name, you can tell how powerful this profession is. Even Andong can't help but feel excited. However, I refuse. But in the end, Andong still shook his head and chose to refuse. His current aura master is already very powerful, and his talent is a perfect match for his aura. If he changes his profession, he can't guarantee whether his skills will match his talents. The most important thing is that aura master is indeed a wild card in his opinion. Any missing attributes can be obtained through aura. As long as you make up for your own shortcomings and rely on the huge aura range and terrifying auxiliary capabilities, you can definitely turn him into an invincible hexagonal warrior. If you change your profession now, it is very likely that your talents will be completely ruined. A unique hidden combat profession, and an advanced talent. He can still tell the difference between what is light and what is important. Besides, since it is an inheritance, rejecting a profession does not mean that there will be no benefits at all. Acquire natal skills. Go back to the past. Acquire passive skill Time Lock. Acquire time rules. Comprehension 0.01%. Strength plus 10,000. Agility plus 10,000. Plus 10000. Sure enough, after Andong made his choice, the power of inheritance instantly turned into an indescribable force. The limbs and bones wandering in Andong. At the same time, several prompts sounded in my mind. The first one to bear the brunt was that the 3 attributes had skyrocketed by 10,000. It's equivalent to doubling directly. What it brings is a crazy improvement in physical fitness. Although the meteorite fire that originally felt unbearably hot is still very hot. But it's no longer unacceptable. Time rules. Andong was overjoyed and couldn't wait to start checking. However, I searched all over the property panel and couldn't see the time rule attribute. I couldn't figure it out and just didn't bother to think about it. Then he looked at the 2 newly obtained skills. Back to the past, natal skills time system. With a little exposure to the rules of time, you can control yourself for a certain period of time. After using it, you can return to your state and position 5 seconds ago. Cooling time 30 minutes. The first is the first natal skill. The introduction is simple but makes Andong's eyes widen. Return to the state and position you were in 5 seconds ago. Andong murmured to himself, it seems useless at first glance. But if it's at a critical moment, it's equivalent to an incredible life-saving skill. Returning to the state 5 seconds ago means that if it was full 5 seconds ago. But now, after a big battle or being attacked by a sneak attack, I am seriously injured and on the verge of death, and I can resurrect with full health as soon as I use this trick. There is also a return to the previous position, no more concessions. Use it with the teleportation array to jump into the enemy camp and kill them randomly. Wait until the enemy reacts and then use the skill to return directly to the starting point. It is simply a must-have skill for killing people, stealing goods, and robbing homes. It's a pity that it can only last for 5 seconds because it's too short. Andong is slightly regretful that this natal skill is even stronger. But it can only have miraculous effects when used at critical moments, and the improvement in combat power is not too great. Moreover, this skill does not have a level. If the power is to be improved, it can only be improved with the improvement of comprehension progress over time. Time lock passive skill. When attacking an enemy, there is a certain chance that the enemy will be time locked and trapped in a time gap. The locking time depends on one's own time understanding and the enemy's strength. So cool. Andong was stunned, too. All skills can only be said to be incredible. It is indeed worthy of the ability of the rules system. This passive skill greatly helps his combat power, directly locking the enemy's time. He didn't know what the enemy felt like, but from an outsider's perspective, it was probably that the enemy had turned into a statue. A living statue. Such a skill can be called a magical skill of the control system. Time Weaver, is it so unnatural? Andong suddenly felt a little regretful, and he knew the whole story at a glance. The inherited skills gained after giving up the job transfer are so abnormal. If you choose to accept the job transfer, how unnatural would it be to be the time weaver you are? But this thought just passed by for a moment. In this world, it is generally accepted that career is not as good as talent. Comparing professions and talents at the same level, professions always determine the lower limit and talents determine the upper limit. With the divine enhancement talent, or a master is the most suitable profession for him. Moreover, these two skills that are dependent on time rules are the product of his choice to give up and accept the job transfer. It is equivalent to the essence obtained by directly decomposing an inheritance that contains the rules of time. If you choose to accept the job transfer, you will only gain some basic skills. Those related to these time rules cannot be accessed until level 150 and level 5. And he still needs to slowly understand that his strength will decline instead of rising in the short term. 60,000 three-dimensional. I should be able to resist it for a while. Andong closed the property bar, took a deep breath and looked at the steps at his feet. With the improvement of this inheritance, he was finally able to withstand the second level of meteor fire. Of course I won't go back one level. After walking up the spiral staircase on the second floor, the layout of the hotel rooms is still the first thing that catches your eye. 2 rows of rooms are built opposite each other, but the number of rooms is obviously much less than on the first floor. There were only 40 or 50 rooms on one side, and the corridor was no longer empty. Many senior brothers and sisters wearing core disciple clothes were chatting in the corridor. Some people were pulling on their collars and making a fan with their other hand, fanning their necks. All the brothers and sisters were sweating profusely, and their bodies were all red. Andong looked strange, this inexplicable sense of familiarity. A picture of a sauna comes to mind. Is there someone here again? Andong was quickly noticed as he walked down the stairs. Someone glanced at him and was about to turn around. But suddenly someone noticed something was wrong and turned around again to look at Andong in surprise. Outer disciples' clothing. Outer disciples. The nearest senior brother looked over in surprise with his eyes wide open. His whole body was as red as a cooked shrimp. Standing next to an open door, sweating profusely, the heat wave in the room was more than twice as hot as the corridor at Wang Li's. I was fanning my collar vigorously and blowing air inside my clothes. At this moment, Andong looked at Andong in shock, unable to react for a while. What the hell? Are you really an outer disciple? Can an outer disciple reach the second floor? How is it possible? The leader with a gold-rimmed mouth is the chief disciple of the outer sect, but the chief disciple of the outer sect is also an outer sect disciple. Tisk, tisk, the younger generation is so scary. I'm afraid this is considered a very strong one among the chief disciples of the outer sect who have come through experience. Not only is he very strong, but in so many years, there has only been one senior brother who reached the second level. This year's chief disciple of the outer sect seems to be auxiliary profession, right? What's the name? A group of people were immediately alarmed and gathered around as if they were looking at a national treasure. Looking at Andong, who was dressed in Xingyi, he was amazed. It could be seen from their words that they had stayed here for a long time. I don't know anything about the outside world, otherwise I wouldn't know Andong. Andong looked at his clothes. He had been wearing clothes issued by Sacred Land since he came to Sacred Land. The green shirt and robe that represents the outer disciples, and the gold embroidered edges on the cuffs and collar represent the identity of the chief of the outer sect. The senior brothers and sisters in front of them are wearing dark blue robes, which are the clothes of the core disciples. Andong, the chief disciple of the outer sect, has met all the brothers and sisters. Andong nodded and greeted Jun with a polite bow. Andong, yes, that's Andong. He seems to be the first genius in history to reach level 20 in the trial grounds. Some people immediately reacted and looked at Andong curiously, as if they wanted to see if this kind of character had 3 heads and 6 arms. Brothers, may I ask, are there any available rooms? Andong looked at their appearance and the open door behind him, and roughly understood the rules of this second floor. Kiki, what a handsome junior brother. Junior brother, come quickly. There is no one next door to my sister. A senior sister smiled coquettishly, her chest surging with laughter. The senior brothers nearby secretly swallowed their saliva. Then, senior sister, I'm going in. Andong showed no stage fright, strode forward and winked at the beautiful senior sister. Then he walked into the room. Boom! The door was closed, and the senior sister suddenly came back to her senses. He looked at the closed door next door in disbelief. He never expected that he would be molested by a junior fellow student from outside today. Ha ha ha, this junior brother is a bit fierce. Senior sister Mang, you didn't expect it, did you? You've been teasing us all day long, and today it's your turn to be teased too. It's so fierce. You even dare to tease senior sister Mang. Sister, I can't bear this if it happens to me. The new junior brother is so brave. In the corridor, a group of senior brothers and sisters looked stunned. After a while, he came back to his senses and burst into laughter. He looked at Meng Qingyu with a strange expression. Despite her quiet name, this senior sister is even more fierce with her carefree personality. There are few core disciples who have not been molested by her. If so, it must be because he is not handsome enough. Not to mention her strength, Qin Mingyu, the third saint child, is still her best friend, and their relationship is extremely irresistible. With such a background, even if many core disciples were molested, they would not dare to speak out. Even if I feel itchy to be aroused, and occasionally I have the bold desire to tease this woman, but I will withdraw my sword and retreat. You won't get any advantage at all. Such behavior is privately called a witch by many good people. I don't know how many people hated her so much but were helpless. However, they never expected that this witch would be teased by an outer disciple today. It's a pun. The driving skills are so high that even Meng Qingyu took a while to realize. How not to make these senior brothers who are watching the fun happy. It was simply a revenge for them. Everyone who was watching the fun and not taking it too seriously made fun of Gong Huadao. I really want to see how this witch is defeated. Good boy, you are the first one who dares to tease me. Meng Qingyu bit her thin lips lightly, and a different emotion arose in her heart. Inexplicably a little angry yet a little funny, even mixed with a hint of shyness. Although she is an experienced driver, she is actually the kind of person who has a thief heart but no courage. She makes fun of others all day long, but with Qin Mingyu here, no one dares to speak rudely to her. Today was the first time I met someone so bold that he dared to publicly tease her. HMPH, what are you looking at? If someone is handsome, molesting you guys who are ugly can only be called harassment. 880. Meng Qingyu glared at a group of guys with bad intentions, turned around and walked into her room with disdain. Only a group of senior brothers were left speechless, with nothing but tears. Long, ugly, an inexplicable sad atmosphere spread in the corridor. A group of senior brothers were like eggplants beaten by frost. The smile froze on his face, and he was speechless and choked. Inside the room, Anyang had no idea that he had unintentionally attracted the attention of a witch. But even if he knew, he didn't care. The interior arrangement of Meteor Star Pavilion is a bit like a hotel, but the interior of the room is completely different. A simple stone house with only a circular platform about 10 centimeters above the ground. It seems to be a place for people to meditate and practice. Other than that, it was empty, nothing. The temperature inside the room is more than twice as high as outside. If he was like before, he might not be able to hold on. But now his strength is further improved, and he has also understood a little bit of the rules of time. It seems that my physical fitness has been greatly improved, and I don't even feel too uncomfortable. The only difference is that the two candle-like flames in the body seem to be a little bigger. Before, it was only as small as the little finger, but now it is as thick as the middle finger. Billing has started, 1000 points per hour, start practicing. Anyang quickly came to the middle platform, took a deep breath and threw away those messy thoughts. My mind went blank for a while, and I immediately turned on Immolation Aura. Meteor Star Pavilion is a very special place. Practicing here can increase the speed of skill upgrades. But not all skills are accelerated at the same time, but can only be practiced one by one. And Yang's first choice was Immolation Aura. This skill was originally the magic skill that he relied on to enter Sacred Land. Just by relying on solid damage, you can leapfrog the group level in seconds. However, as time goes by, his level becomes higher and higher, and the strength of the monster becomes stronger and stronger. Immolation Aura's fixed damage is almost negligible even after being increased 50 times. Instead, the additional percentage damage, which was initially insignificant, began to show its prominence. After the blessing of multiple auras, it increased hundreds of times. This created an yang who shocked the sacred land. Now the level increase of immolation aura is actually not obvious to him. After all, compared with other auras that frequently increase 5 times or 10 times. Upgrading immolation aura only increases the additional damage by 10%, which is very cost-effective. But Andong doesn't care now. He came to Meteor Star Pavilion and has no intention of leaving soon. At least all skills must be upgraded to level 10 before proceeding. Nothing else, rich and willful. Come one by one and upgrade them all to level 10, which should be enough to help Shu Chong Chun kill the demigods. Andong murmured and sat down cross-legged. In an instant, the fire in his body seemed to be connected to the high platform beneath him, and the fire suddenly became brighter. Boom! Silver-white flames instantly enveloped Andong, but did not burn everything about him. Instead, it started to spread along his body to his feet, and aura, who had been hidden by him, suddenly appeared. The fiery red aura emerges under the feet, and the silvery white light blends with it. Gradually transformed into a giant white and red aura. The brilliance flows, but when it encounters the wall, it changes. The range of the 7th level immolation aura is as high as 3,500 meters, but it cannot break through in this small room of less than 20 square meters. There seems to be something special about the material of this meteor pavilion, which tightly confines Andong's immolation aura to the room and prevents it from leaving. It's just that Andong didn't notice this change at this moment. At the moment when meteor flame and aura merged, he just sat down cross-legged, as if countless obscure and seemingly simple insights were poured into his mind. It made him feel dizzy and stinging for a while. But at the same time, I can clearly feel that aura's power is increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The improvement speed is obviously more than 100 times faster than the outside world. At this rate, immolation aura can reach level 8 in at most 1 hour. Andong was in pain and happiness, and there was a burst of enlightenment in her heart without having to calculate. Time passed minute by minute, but he didn't feel it at all. The red and white aura cannot break through after hitting the wall. There seems to be some special energy blocking everything on the wall. However, after a period of time, something finally changed. Aura began to spread towards the wall, and soon spread to the top. And then, the huge aura directly wraps the entire room 365 degrees without any blind spots. If Andong opened his eyes at this moment, he would probably think that he had arrived somewhere. The red and white stripes flowed regularly like living things, and through the gaps at the bottom of the stone door, the entire corner of the corridor at the door was reflected with light. 3 hours later, another stone door finally opened in the corridor. A young man came out almost in a hurry, his whole face turned red like a cooked shrimp. The moment he rushed out of the room, he quickly ran to the corner to avoid the stone door, and then he collapsed on the ground and gasped. My whole body was dripping with sweat, as if I had been fished out of water, my hair was soaked with sweat. Before it even dripped to the ground, it was evaporated by the high temperature, making the corridor filled with water vapor like a fairyland on earth. When the water mist floated to the door of Andong's room, it suddenly turned into colorful rainbow-like light under the light of aura. Instantly caught his attention. Yeah, the young man was surprised, and then he realized that he was the only one in the corridor. This didn't surprise him. No one in the Falling Star Pavilion could stay in the room until the training was over. Normally, if you can't stand being in the room anymore, everyone will come out to get some fresh air, take a rest, and then go back in again. The length of time varies. The stronger the strength, the longer it can last. The effect of training will naturally be better. His strength is relatively poor among the core disciples. It's not unusual to be the first to come out, but the chief disciple of the outer sect, and Andong, hasn't come out yet. He murmured to himself, a little confused in his heart. From a distance, the flickering light is clearly showing that he is practicing his skills, but even though he is 10 or so rooms away, he actually felt a hint of palpitations from it. The pressure is so strong, it seems like it can kill me instantly. The young man took a deep breath and looked at the rainbow-like light in shock. I couldn't believe my eyes. Boom, I can't help it, it's too, such a strong aura. Just when he was shocked, another stone door opened. An embarrassed figure sprang out like a monkey with a burnt buttocks, and fell down on the corridor while screaming strangely. But before he could sit firmly, he suddenly felt a throbbing in his heart. I saw the rainbow-like aura not far away starting to spread in the corridor. Soon they came here and enveloped the two of them. The smell of death instantly gave them goosebumps. Hiss. The first young man to come out suddenly took a breath of cold air, with a ghostly expression on his face. This skill can actually break through the shackles of the forbidden demon stone and spread to the corridor. The second person who came out didn't care that his whole body was feeling uncomfortable and limp, and he jumped up and landed on the stone wall. Seeing aura spread rapidly and soon covering the entire corridor, I just felt my scalp numb. Such a scene, even if you enter the Falling Star Pavilion as a core disciple, it is not once or twice. I have never seen this scene before. Junior brother Tang, don't panic, it's not dangerous, calm down. The young man looked at his junior brother who was lying on the wall like a monkey speechlessly, and kindly reminded him. Haha, which senior brother's skill is this? Isn't it too fast? Monkey jumped down with an embarrassed look on his face and quickly changed the topic. It seems. The new outer sect chief disciple in Yang. The first young man was a little unsure. He watched aura come out of An Yang's room door with his own eyes. Then it spread, but now that it has enveloped the entire corridor, he is not sure whether he is dazzled or not. How is it possible that just a chief disciple of the outer sect? Monkey obviously didn't believe it. He would rather believe that it was a powerful senior brother who came and sent it. The first person shrugged and said nothing more. As the stone doors opened one after another, everyone who saw this scene was stunned. For a while, there was a scene of a monkey climbing the wall from time to time in the corridor on the second floor of the Meteor Star Pavilion. A group of core disciples who were superior in the eyes of the outer disciples were all frightened today. After all, Meteor Star Pavilion has existed for hundreds of years, and countless senior brothers and sisters have come to practice their skills. Many of them have been here at least 10 times, but have never seen anything like this. The most exaggerated thing is that through the crack in the door, you can vaguely see the flickering light inside. How can it spread directly and cover the entire corridor? What the hell? What's going on? Hiss. What a terrifying smell. Nima, what is this? Oh my god, help me. Oh my god, this, what is this? The stone doors opened one after another, and the core disciples who had escaped in embarrassment suddenly felt a panic in their hearts as soon as they stepped out of the door. Looking at the auras all over the corridor, my scalp feels numb. As a core disciple, I have come a long way on the road of transcendent. Naturally, one has a unique sensing ability that can easily determine how dangerous something is and whether it is a threat to oneself. They clearly sense the aura of death from this beautiful-looking aura, as if they would be instantly killed if they were not careful. If they really couldn't stay in the room any longer, I'm afraid someone would have to go back to the room again. Which senior brother and sister's skill is this? It can actually penetrate the confinement of the magic stone. In the end, Meng Qingyu couldn't bear it anymore and came out. Looking at the terrifying aura, she couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded for a moment. With her strength, she has already surpassed the threshold of a true disciple. The reason why she cannot be promoted is simply because she is not sure about challenging the true disciple. In this second level, her strength is the most important. But when I saw this scene, I couldn't help but feel numb and shocked. There are only so many rooms on the second floor, so those who haven't come out yet are probably the ones. Someone said thoughtfully, and at this moment everyone became curious. I want to know who this mysterious strong man is, and his strength is so terrifying. Who else hasn't come out? Meng Qingyu nodded, looked around and asked. It seems like the only one is the new one. Someone answered in a low voice, somewhat uncertainly. The new one, the chief disciple of the outer sect, and Yang. Meng Qingyu suddenly looked at her neighbor. When this guy came in just now, he even dared to tease her. Moreover, she has a handsome appearance and unparalleled temperament. She did not feel disgusted but was a little shy. So I was very impressed. I turned around and saw that the door to the next door was closed, and a small window on the door showed red. It's a sign of someone. It's actually him. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Meng Qingyu shook her head, rationally telling her that this was impossible. Look at the other rooms, are there any other senior brothers or sisters who came after we entered? Others immediately reacted. A mere chief disciple of the outer sect. How is it possible to have such incredible strength? Obviously someone else is logical. I don't have any here, they're all empty. This is empty too. No one, everyone is out. Everyone has come out, all my rooms are empty. However, 2 minutes later, looking at all the empty rooms, a group of people looked at each other, and everyone on the second floor had already come out. Only Anyang, who is next door to Meng Qingyu, is still in the room and has not come out. It's already a miracle that an outer disciple can enter the second level, and he can still stay there for so long. Meng Qingyu was stunned for a moment and looked at the stone door next door with wide eyes. An incredible thought came to my mind. Could it be that this skill was really produced by him? Immolation Aura IV7 right pointing arrow IV8. 10 hours later, a pleasant reminder sounded. After spending a full 10,000 points, Immolation Aura finally reached level 8. Finally upgraded, and Yang suddenly jumped down from the round platform, his whole face turned red like a roasted shrimp. The temperature of the meteorite in his body is constantly increasing, as if he is being grilled on a fire. When the temperature reaches the extreme limit, the meteorite will split into two. At this moment, the number of meteorite flames in his body had soared to 16, and the extreme temperature made him feel like his whole body was about to be scorched. If it weren't for the imminent upgrade of Immolation Aura, he would have been tempted to run out. At this moment, the upgrade was finally successful. He quickly opened the door and rushed out without even having time to look at Aura's attributes. The moment he opened the door, the temperature difference of dozens of times hit Anyang, who suddenly felt a tremor all over. It's like suddenly going from the hot desert directly to the glacial Arctic. Anyang breathed in the cool air hungrily, and the temperature in his body that was almost roasting finally began to slowly drop. A meteorite flame was extinguished, and Anyang finally felt better. Ha, senior sister. You, what are you doing? After breathing a long sigh of relief, Anyang realized that there were a lot of people outside his door. Looking at myself coming out, everyone stared at me with strange eyes, which was quite an anomaly. You, junior brother, and you just came out now. You didn't come out in the middle. Meng Qingyu looked at this junior brother up and down. Even if he was red and sweating profusely, he could not hide his handsome face. On the contrary, it has a bit more masculinity, and the breath of ambition blows in my face. She, a pretty girl, couldn't help but blush and her heart beat. A desire she had never felt before suddenly arose. It made her want to get closer. Yes, what's the matter? And Yang looked at this senior sister inexplicably. He had to say that Meng Qingyu looked extremely charming. Every frown and every smile is like a seducing fairy. You can see it from the movements of other senior brothers around him secretly swallowing. If he hadn't been a man in 2 lifetimes, he would have seen a lot and had a lot of knowledge, but he would still look like a pig brother. Didn't come out even once during the journey. So perverted. I came out twice. How can you compare with senior brother N? That aura, 10 of you and I can't even take seconds. It's too scary. The waves behind push the waves ahead. I should have known that the chief of the outer sect is not an ordinary person. But it is rare to see such a perverted person. Tisk, 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 I'm afraid it's enough to compete with senior brother Hu. Hearing Anyang's words, a group of core disciples were even more amazed. I couldn't help but whisper, my eyes were no longer as careless and indifferent as before. But there is a bit more awe and envy. You haven't been out for 10 hours. Meng Qingyu was no longer calm and looked at Anyang like a monster. After 10 hours of meteorite flame, you have at least a dozen meteorite flames in your body, right? Are you a monster? Meng Qingyu looked at Anyang in disbelief, feeling as if he was dreaming. When did an outer disciple become so perverted? I'm afraid senior brother who back then was just like this, right? 16. I can't bear it anymore, it's too hard. Anyang also has some lingering fears. This meteor star pavilion is simply a place where you spend money to find trouble. The pain caused by this internal temperature burning is simply beyond imagination. If it weren't for skill upgrading to be too difficult, absolutely no one would be willing to upgrade quickly at the expense of such pain. 16. Meng Qingyu screamed again, and her scalp couldn't help but tingle just thinking about it. With her strength, she can only resist the burning of 8 meteor flames. If one is unable to resist, she will have to come out. But Andong, a mere outer sect disciple, had twice as much meteorite fire as hers. Simply beyond imagination. Senior sister, what strength do you need to go to the 3rd level? Andong asked, changing the subject. He felt that the speed on the 2nd level was still too slow. It would probably take several months to upgrade all the skills to level 10, and that's assuming you have enough points. The 3rd level, that can only be entered by true disciples. You must be able to withstand at least 20 meteor flames before you can enter. Meng Qingyu's attitude became much more enthusiastic. A disciple like this would never be a thing in the pool in the future. It will always be beneficial if we can make some friends in the future. Junior brother, there is no need to rush there. If you cannot withstand the burning of the meteor fire, entering the 3rd floor in advance will actually be less efficient than the 2nd floor. Andong nodded and talked with Meng Qingyu. After all, it's beautiful and delicious, and sitting there for 10 hours is simply boring to death. Being able to chat with a beautiful woman is always a pleasant thing. Meng Qingyu's appearance is no weaker than Lin Linger's, but she looks more mature and charming in comparison. To a young man, he may not be as charming as the youthful and lively Lin Linger, but Andong too is a good person. But she knows the benefits of such a beautiful young woman. Meng Qingyu obviously still resented being teased by Andong before, plus she was attracted by the smell of Andong. For a time, his words became more aggressive and bold, and his words were extremely provocative. I vow to find my place with Andong. However, how could Andong be afraid of him? When the car started to drive, its wheels rolled over all the core disciples who were watching the excitement. Meng Qingyu, the armchair senior sister, even blushed and her heart beat wildly. Doggy couple. Some people were cursing and their eyes were red. The heat here would have made people feel very depressed and angry, but seeing the two of them flirting now made them even more jealous. He cursed secretly, then turned around and walked into his room. Senior sister Meng, why are your face so red? Andong pretended to be innocent and looked at the senior sisters who were getting closer and asked, it would be better if these senior brothers and sisters left. I just had some thoughts at first, but suddenly I felt angry in my lower abdomen. There's no nonsense, this is hot. Meng Qingyu quickly touched her face, only to feel that it was frighteningly hot. But he was unwilling to admit defeat and quickly made an excuse. But whether it is hot or embarrassing, only she knows. Andong secretly smiled in his heart. Naturally he would not refuse the beautiful senior sister's embrace. His left hand directly grasped Meng Qingyu's waist, and his right hand reached towards Meng Qingyu's forehead. Is it so hot? Let me see. It was all sticky and slippery, and everyone in the Meteor Star Pavilion was dripping with sweat. However, it did not affect the feel of the hand at all. He carefully touched Meng Qingyu's forehead with his right hand. But her left hand caressed the senior sister's waist, and in an instant Meng Qingyu's delicate body trembled. I just feel my cheeks getting hotter. It seems a little hot. Senior sister, why don't you come in and let me check it out for you? Andong smiled mischievously. This beautiful senior sister looks like an old driver despite her harsh words. But as soon as he got started, he knew that this sister was still a young girl. Quote. Meng Qingyu's waist was lightly quilted, and she felt like 10,000 ants crawling on her. It was tingling but also had an anomaly feeling, breathing in the scent that was so close at hand that fascinated her. Her reason told her that she could not continue to sink, but her body was very honest and couldn't bear to leave at all. Meng Qingyu's waist vibrated, twisting like a snake. The feeling it brings makes Andong call it supreme grade, which is smooth yet soft and waxy. It's so addictive. Looking at the senior sister who was so confused that she almost collapsed on him, Andong smiled knowingly. Withdrawing his right hand from his forehead, he was about to pick up Meng Qingyu. It's so hot. Yeah, senior brother N. Just as Andong was about to pick up Meng Qingyu, another figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the stairs. The person who came was wearing the clothes of a core disciple, grinning and complaining. His eyes swept across the corridor and instantly fell on Anyang's face. Suddenly he screamed in surprise. Senior brother N, have you come to the Falling Star Pavilion too? This is. The visitor hurriedly ran over, but when he got closer, he noticed the ambiguous aura between the two of them. His body suddenly stiffened. Ah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, senior brother, and you continue, you continue. The visitor smiled sarcastically, shrunk his neck and quickly found an unoccupied room nearby and got into it. Ah, no, no, junior brother, you can't. He left, but that cry also awakened Meng Qingyu's reason. Meng Qingyu screamed but did not know where the strength came from. She pushed Anyang away and stood up quickly. Her face was as rosy as if it were dripping water, and her big eyes were flickering, so she didn't dare to look at Anyang. He just kept talking. Exclamation mark quote. Seeing the duck flying away, Anyang was so angry that he almost went crazy. Nima, the second brother saluted, but the senior sister ran away. Puff. Seeing Anyang's depressed look, Meng Qingyu suddenly laughed and said. He came over to comfort him again. Okay, junior brother, don't be angry, it really doesn't work here, how about, at night? Meng Qingyu came over and hugged Anyang's arm, her red lips came close to her ear and whispered. But the more she talked, the redder her face turned. She didn't know whether it was from embarrassment or anticipation. No time at night. Anyang was extremely depressed. Although he was extremely moved, he still reluctantly refused. After all, there was Lin Linger in the evening. This girl had tasted the taste for the first time. As long as there are no other arrangements, I will come back on time, and I will stay in dormitory number 2 for one night on the first day. Basically all the people in the back live in Anyang. Although Lin Linger also acquiesced to his relationship with Luan Bingbran, she couldn't really bring another one back in front of her. Sleeping with a big quilt is still impossible for the time being. I don't have time tonight, then, tomorrow. Anyang's face was a little dark, and Meng Qingyu thought he was angry at her current refusal. He blinked and continued, his red lips almost touching Anyang's ears. Exhaling like blue gave Anyang a headache. Tomorrow. Anyang's heart suddenly moved, and his big hands unceremoniously hugged Meng Qingyu's waist again. He leaned close to her ear and whispered something. Ah you. Meng Qingyu's pretty face turned red with embarrassment, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Anyang clearly felt that this sister had goosebumps on her waist. This is also a master who likes excitement. Anyang looked at Meng Qingyu with a smirk and thought to himself. How about it? Oh, is this not good? Meng Qingyu's red lips were almost dripping with water, and she hesitated slightly, as if she was a little hesitant. His eyes flickered but he seemed a little moved. It's okay, no one will know. Anyang struck while the iron was hot and wrapped his arms around Meng Qingyu. Meng Qingyu caressed Lu Yao wantonly and touched her straight. Her delicate body was shaking wildly and was almost going soft again. Okay, I promised, okay, let go, I'm going in. Meng Qingyu quickly begged for mercy. She was afraid that she would not be able to control herself if she continued like this. I had to agree. Wait a minute. Anyang took Meng Qingyu's hand and pulled her back. What's wrong? Meng Qingyu was surprised and happy, a little expecting but a little resistant. He looked at Anyang warily, fearing that he would push further. What was that boy's name just now? Anyang looked at the door that was finally closed and asked through gritted teeth. That guy is clearly a core disciple, but he calls himself senior brother. Obviously I saw myself in the Tower of Babel. But how can you just let it go if it disturbs your own good deeds? You, stingy little. Meng Qingyu was stunned for a moment, then she couldn't laugh or cry. But I still told Anyang. Core disciple Wu Qichao, his strength is not bad, what do you want to do? Anyang smiled evilly and said. Exclamation mark quote. Meng Qingyu once again made a big fuss, thinking that she was also an experienced driver. But he was losing ground at the hands of this junior brother, and he felt like he couldn't stand it anymore. Anyang rolled his eyes angrily, turned around, opened the door and walked in. Wu Qichao. Watching Meng Qingyu turn around, Anyang reached out and pinched her plump buttocks unceremoniously. 0. Meng Qingyu screamed and ran faster. It wasn't until the door closed that Anyang snorted coldly. Looking at the closed stone door, I gritted my teeth. Poor Wu Qichao. How did he know that he just saw his idol and got excited, but ended up being obsessed with him? If you know that you are afraid, you can only cry without tears. This witch. Withdrawing his gaze, Anyang sighed again and then turned around to go back to the room. But after entering the stone gate, the temperature rose again, making Andong, who was already holding back a lot of anger, even more uncomfortable. This is no place for humans to stay. Cursing secretly, he had no choice but to sit cross-legged on the round platform again. This training, blessings aura. Andong took a deep breath to force himself to calm down, and decided to practice blessings aura first. Blessings aura increases the basic attack. Only the basic attack is high enough. High enough to break defenses and blast damage aura, combo aura, etc. can be effective. Otherwise, if the defense cannot be broken, no matter how high the explosion damage is, it will be of no use. With a thought, a golden aura began to spread. Silver-white flames emerged out of thin air and merged with blessings aura again. Cross the stone wall, climb up the stone wall, and gradually wrap up the entire stone house. Gradually it spreads towards the gaps in the stone door. It's just that this time Andong couldn't enter the state of concentration for a long time, always feeling restless. No, purple jade mineral essence thrown. Andong stood up irritably, although he could still practice this way. But obviously the efficiency is much lower than last time. Suddenly, something moved in his heart, and he took out the purple jade mineral essence thrown. This thing can not only increase three-dimensional attributes, but also has the effect of clearing the mind and calming the mind. Sure enough, the moment the purple jade mineral essence thrown was taken out, the temperature inside the stone house seemed to have more than doubled, and it was not much higher than in the corridor. It works. Andong was overjoyed and placed the purple jade or essence thrown on the stone platform. Then he sat on it. There is also a blessing effect. The efficiency must be increased by at least 50%. Andong was pleasantly surprised. This purple jade mineral essence thrown was indeed a heaven-defying divine weapon. It actually has a blessing effect when combined with meteor fire. Strength +1, agility +1, intelligence +1. Cool. The three dimensions increase at the same time, and Andong is enveloped in a pure and calming breath. At the same time, the skill upgrade speed is also much faster. Although there is still meteor fire in the body. But it has stopped the momentum of splitting, maintaining the only one burning slowly. Andong slowly closed his eyes and finally entered a state of trance. Meng Qingyu, why did you lose your head? I agreed to hand myself over so easily. Andong entered the practice here, but he didn't know that Meng Qingyu next door was crying without tears at the moment. Pinch her face, Meng Qingyu frowned. Recalling the scene just now, I couldn't help but feel my cheeks getting hot and regretful. But junior brother and is really handsome. And he smells great, his hands are gentle, and his temperament is unparalleled. No. Meng Qingyu, wake up, you have just met once. But junior brother and is really handsome. In the stone house, Meng Qingyu had no intention of practicing. I just looked at the wall dreamily, as if I wanted to see Andong on the other side through the wall. Sometimes he murmurs to himself, fighting between heaven and man in his heart. I am hesitating whether to go to the appointment tomorrow or not. I've already promised my junior brother, it's not good if I don't go. That's right, you have to be honest in life, and you can't break your word. In the end, Meng Qingyu seemed to have finally found a reason to convince herself. He muttered with his cheeks flushed. The next day, Meng Qingyu looked around and saw that there was no one in the corridor. Knocking on Anyang's door like a thief, Andong woke up from his practice. After looking at the skills, Blessing's aura was directly upgraded to level 9. Junior brother, I'm here, you are not allowed to act recklessly. Meng Qingyu's face turned slightly red, as if she was emphasizing something. Andong chuckled secretly. Only with the purple jade mineral essence thrown was he able to escape the torment of the meteorite flame. The night passed, but I was still in high spirits and no longer irritated by the high temperature. It seems that the second brother is not that angry anymore, but after being emphasized by Meng Qingyu, he immediately raised his head again. Sister, let me check. The sky was thundering and the earth was burning, and the two people who were already intentional were not too polite. Andong directly pulled Meng Qingyu into the room and closed the stone door. Even if there was something earth-shattering inside, the outside world would not know anything about it. Ah! Meng Qingyu screamed, despite doing a lot of mental construction. But when the matter comes to an end, it is inevitable to be nervous, and countless thoughts finally turned into 2 words. Lighter. The following days Andong lived a busy and fulfilling life. With the purple jade mineral essence thrown by his side, he basically just soaked in the Meteor Star Pavilion without going out. Senior sister Mang, who had a spicy mouth, tasted the taste for the first time, and she couldn't stop like Lin Linger. She had to find an excuse to come every day, and the nourished senior sister's face became more and more charming. The succubus-like aura made Andong a little obsessed with it. This was a different feeling from the shy and passive Lin Linger. But happy days are always short-lived. With a full 300,000 points. But it was all used up in less than half a month. On this day, Andong had to choose to leave the border. Junior brother, when are you in the dormitory? Do I come to find you or you come to find me? Meng Qingyu was naked, lying lazily on the round platform. With charming eyes like silk, she looked at Andong reluctantly. His eyes were filled with fascination. Let's see, I'll probably be very busy during this period. When I'm done, I'll go find you. Andong feels like a bit of a scumbag, but he really doesn't have time. He has been missing for half a month, and I don't know if Shu Chong Chun has any clues. And he didn't go out just to have fun this time, he had to work on his own money-making plan. Earn more points, and then Shu Chong Chun will come back and continue to upgrade the skill level after giving him a few skill books. Prepare for Shu Chong Chun's 5th mission. Then, you must remember to come to me. Meng Qingyu was a little resentful and could only warn her like this. When I returned to dormitory number 1, I saw no trace of Lin Linger. I don't know what this girl is busy with. Andong didn't care either. Meng Qingyu was with her during this period. I didn't miss it much. He just opened his properties panel and started looking at it. Name, Andong. Occupation, Divine Aura Master. Level, IV 52 18.90%. Agility, 35,900. Free attribute points, 01. Equipment, Divine Jade Green Bag Book, Frost Secret Technique, Wind Boots, Water Avoidance Bead, Level 3. Talent, the only supreme level Divine Enhancement IV2. At each level, the attribute points gained are increased 5 times, and the skill effect and range are increased 50 times. Back to the past, natal skill time system. With a slight exposure to the rules of time, you can control yourself for a certain period of time. After using it, you can return to your state and position 5 seconds ago. 1. Time lock passive skill. When attacking an enemy, there is a certain chance to lock the enemy in time, trapping it in a time gap. The locking time depends on one's own time understanding and the enemy's strength. Flash LV1. Consume a point of energy to teleport once within the range of aura, gain a point of energy every day, and can stack up to 10 points of energy. Immolation Aura IV9. Causes 5,500 points plus 180% of own attack power per second to all enemies within a 4,500 meter radius, consuming 100 points per second. Glorious Aura IV9. All friendly forces within a radius of 4,500 meters recover 1,000 mana points per second. Freezing Aura IV9. Triggers freezing every 3 seconds on enemies within a radius of 4,500 meters, lasting 1.5 seconds and causing damage 450 times the own intelligence value, consuming 100 mana points per second. Durability Aura IV9. All friendly forces within a radius of 4,500 meters recover 2,000 health points per second. Blessings Aura 10. Increases the basic attack of all friendly forces within 5,000 meters by 5,000%. Agility Aura IV9. Increases the movement speed of all friendly forces within 4,500 meters by 4,500%. Combo Aura IV9. All friendly forces within a radius of 4,500 meters have a 100% chance of triggering 4 combos of damage when attacking, and a 50% chance of triggering 5 combos of damage. 1. Crit Hit Aura IV9. The critical hit rate of all friendly forces within a range of 4,500 meters increases by 100%, and its own effect is doubled. Critical Damage Aura 10. The critical damage of all friendly forces within a range of 5,000 meters is increased by 5,000%, and its own effect is doubled. Strong Attack Aura IV9. The long-range attack of teammates within 4,500 meters increases the attack power and attack speed by 4,500%, and the own effect is doubled. Resist Aura IV3. After use, all enemies and attacks will be pushed away 3,500 meters, and the disarming buff will be triggered for 1,500 seconds. Void Aura IV3. Makes all enemies or teammates within a range of 3,500 meters enter a state of nothingness, immune to all physical damage and unable to physical attacks, and increases damage received from spells by 4,500%. Defense Aura IV2. The defense of all teammates within 1,000 meters is increased by 10,000 points. Demon Aura IV2. The spell damage of all teammates within 1,000 meters is increased by 1,000%. Silence Aura IV2. All enemies within 1,000 meters are prohibited from using skills. When enabled, 10% of one's maximum mana will be consumed every second. Fasting Aura IV2. After turning it on, any enemy within a radius of 1,000 meters is prohibited from using any restorative skills or props. Glory Aura IV2. All friendly forces within 1,000 meters increase strength, agility, and intelligence by 5,000 points each for 10 minutes. Washing Aura IV2. Clear any negative buffs from all friendly forces within 1,000 meters, consuming 100 mana points per second. The level has not changed at all, but the three-dimensional attributes have more than doubled. At 9,100 points when entering the Falling Star Pavilion, the three dimensions of activated Time Weaver inheritance increased by 10,000 each. I stayed in the Meteor Star Pavilion for more than 10 days. Except for exercising with Meng Qingyu, I spent the rest of the time on the Purple Jade Mineral Essence Throne. The three-dimensional attributes also increased by more than 10,000 each, and now it is more than 35,000. The second is the change of skills. The effect of more than 200,000 points is not negligible. First of all, Blessings Aura and Explosive Damage Aura have finally been upgraded to level 10, and the basic attack has been increased by 50 times. The critical damage is increased by 50 times, and the self-effect is doubled by 100 times. Without considering the enemy's defense, he can directly deal horrific damage that is almost 5,000 times his own intelligence. Just thinking about it makes me explode. Immolation Aura and other 8 auras have all been upgraded to level 9. Unfortunately, there are not enough points. Otherwise, Andong would definitely upgrade them all to level 10 before leaving. The few auras obtained after coming to Sacred Land have not had time to be upgraded, and they still maintain the same level as before entering. To upgrade them all to level 10, you need at least 500,000 points to start. Andong calculated slightly, skill upgrading is not a simple matter. Among those true disciples, even though they are all rank 4 or even peak rank 4 experts, the gap in combat power is huge. The top ones include the first Saint Child Huruian, Shu Chong Chun and others. Its strength is inferior to that of the other 9 Saint Childs combined. It relies solely on its stronger three-dimensionality and the full details in every aspect. Skill level is the most important level. Andong took a look at his attributes with satisfaction, then closed it and started thinking about making money. Points are one of the most important resources in Sacred Land. Obtaining points is naturally not that simple. But this is for ordinary disciples. No matter where they are, the strong must have more efficient ways to make money. In Sacred Land, there are 3 recognized fastest ways to earn points. The first one is naturally the Reclamation Dungeon. As long as you complete the reclamation of a dungeon, all the revenue from the tickets sold for this copy within the next year will belong to the developer. Just a second-level dungeon can earn a disciple millions of points. A third-level or even fourth-level dungeon is even more terrifying. However, land reclamation is something that no one person can do alone. A team of hundreds or even tens of millions of points will not be able to divide the amount so much. Although Andong is sure to open up a dungeon alone, he first needs to compete for the qualifications to open up Wasteland. Secondly, this benefit is only a long-term benefit and is not obvious in the short term. So it was passed. The second is to play in the ring. Jushao Sacred Land is a sacred land specially created to cultivate strong masters of land reclamation. See. There is only one rule here, that is, the strong are respected. There will inevitably be conflicts and frictions when there are too many strong people. in order to prevent the disciples from being unable to resolve their conflicts and leading to riots. The setting of the arena came into being naturally. As time goes by, the functions of the arena have also been opened in various ways. It is a gambling battle, where both parties put a certain number of points into the bet. Two people fight, the winner takes the kill. It is of a challenging nature, and commissions are set up to allow all militants to come and challenge. A strong person who thinks he has extraordinary strength can serve as the champion, and the prize pool will continue to accumulate. Let's see who can take away this generous challenge money in the end. It is divided into various team modes, duel mode, turn mode, etc. It is said that the daily turnover of points in the arena area is as high as hundreds of millions. However, a place like this cannot escape the eyes of those powerful disciples, among whom there are many true disciples and even Saint Child who is stationed behind the scenes. It's full of spins. And Yang didn't think too much and passed this choice. It's not that I'm not sure about competing in the ring, but it's a mixed bag of good and bad people in this place. His current status is unusual. There is a true biography or Saint Child who is eyeing him. If you fall into a trap, everything will be lost. The third way is the most cliched and the lowest way. Bring someone to refresh the book. This is generally not the choice of apex level experts, only those disciples who have a certain level of strength but cannot make it to the top. Form a small team, and then choose certain dungeons that are skilled in brushing. Charge a certain fee to bring people to brush copies. Benefit: it is also obvious that the stronger the team, the fewer people it needs. The more people you can bring, the more profits you will share. And at the same time, it doesn't delay your leveling up and collecting treasures, which is quite convenient. But the disadvantages are the same. After all, it is still a matter of doing hard work to make money. The tough ones are obviously not as good as those big guys who play tricks, and the speed of making money is also the slowest among the three. However, in Anyang's opinion, this method is the most suitable for him. After all, with the skills of a disciple of Sacred Land, even if you want to clear the dungeon, you have to start at the king level. And if you want to brush the king, you have to copy it. Even with their strength, they can't bring too many people. The benefits gained are limited. But there is no such problem for Anyang. He can do it alone. You can bring people to the remaining dozens of spots, even if each person is charged 100 points. There are several thousand in one trip. And with his speed, it would be no problem to clear at least a dozen copies a day, if not more. That's an income of tens of thousands of points, which is enough to cover the needs of one day's training in Meteor Star Pavilion. What's more, the fare for a slightly higher level dungeon is at least a few hundred points, or even thousands of points. That profit: one trip costs tens of thousands, and one day costs hundreds of thousands. And Yang almost drooled when he thought about it. He couldn't wait to clean it up after thinking about it. Then hurriedly walked to the mission hall. The mission hall is the busiest place in Jushao Sacred Land. None of them, however, since Anyang came to Sacred Land, except for a brief look outside when Luan Bingran took him on the orientation mission. This is his first time here. The hall was buzzing with people, and countless outer disciples gathered on the first floor. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the mission information on the large screen, hoping to find a mission suitable for them. There are also people who have received suitable tasks and are shouting loudly to find their teammates. Search for the water monster in Chingaling Township. After completion, each person will get 30 points and get a LV 20+. Gathering chives and rice. The more work you do, the more people will come and the team will start quickly. I have an order from the elder of the Alchemy Pavilion. I need to collect some spiritual herbs and find some people with nimble hands and feet. Search for the location of the air fluctuations in Wangguo Lake. It is very likely that a new copy will appear. If we find it, we will send it to you. Do you have any brothers with you? A group of monster corpses will be skinned and blood trained in the Royal Beast Pavilion, and a few fire mages will come. After finishing, each of them will be 100 tax inspectors. In the hall on the first floor, many outer sect disciples who had received the mission were standing nearby, shouting loudly and trying to find suitable teammates. After all, not everyone is second generation and knows a lot of people when they come to Sacred Land. It is more likely that some lucky person among thousands of ordinary people has awakened the hidden combat profession. Then he performed well in the trial land, and finally successfully entered the sacred land. Their origins are 0.7, they are ordinary, their strength is humble, and they have no connections or background. I only know a few or two of them, and I can only make a few friends by doing tasks. But that's all for the future. And Yang frowned slightly, suddenly realizing that he had taken it for granted. In the lobby on the first floor, there is no shortage of missions for leading people to refresh their records, but they are all issued by outer disciples. The dungeons that need to be cleared are basically dungeons of more than 20 levels, and the rewards are pitifully low. It's similar to what Jia Shaozi gave me at the beginning, a ticket included. This is obviously inconsistent with Yang's plan to make money, and if you want to brush high-level copies, then you have to go to the second floor or even the third floor first. But he is just an outer disciple. But he can't get in. After thinking for a moment, Yang turned around and walked out. Are you going to take over the task of brushing the dungeon? Luan Bingran looked at Yang with a serious face in surprise, a little surprised. You must have at least 200,000 points for playing the Tower of Babel, right? That's not even enough for you. After more than 10 days of swiping through the Meteor Star Pavilion, all the points have been used up. Yang explained patiently, can you help me see if there are any dungeon quests on the second floor? Then you can recruit me into the team, and in return I will waive your fare. Luan Bingran's eyes suddenly lit up and her heart skipped a beat. She is just an ordinary inner disciple. In the eyes of the outer disciples, she is a superior senior sister. But in fact, her life is not any more comfortable than that of ordinary outer disciples, and her points are also in short supply. Spend less if you can. Make a deal. Luan Bingran agreed without hesitation. She was very confident in Yang's strength. The Tower of Babel can directly reach the 1,000 layers of existence. Bringing inner disciples to brush the base is simply overkill. In other words, Yang's level is only IV 52, and he can't get into the third level dungeon. Otherwise, how could such a good thing be her soup? And she also has her own plans, and the ticket and the bus ticket are also different. They are both second-level dungeons. Some tickets cost 100 points, while others cost 1,000 points. As long as she chooses the hardest copy that is also the most expensive, she can get the maximum profit. Under the profit trend, Luan Bingran is very efficient. A team soon came, and people applied to join one after another. Yang took a look and saw that the name of the team was The 1,000 Layers Boss Leads the Sky City, and the ticket price is 1,000 for efficient customs clearance. Yang's face twitched slightly, and she felt like she had gone back to her previous life and stayed up all night fighting in an internet cafe. Familiar recipe properties with flavor. Mo Wuchen Tianxi IV 60 joins the team. Fong Zan Sword King LV 60 joins the team. Chu Sheng Boxing Sect LV 60 joins the team. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. News about joining the team sounded out one after another, and each profession seemed to have a very high standard. There are all hidden combat professions. Even if you are a rare combat profession, it is extremely difficult to enter sacred land. Soon, a dungeon team of 40 people was almost full. It's not that a team can only have a maximum of 40 people, but normally a team of 40 people is the most appropriate. It can not only ensure sufficient combat power, but also ensure that everyone has a certain income. Otherwise, if there are too many people, it will be easier to fight, but there are only so many experiences and equipment items in a dungeon. If there are too many people, there may not be much left for each person, and the gain outweighs the loss. But it's not like Fang Chen had a team of several hundred people in the trial area before, but it was just for fame. In the name of the relic, I just want to speed through the dungeon to gain a wave of reputation. It's a pity that Yang interfered and all the arrangements of the Fang family were in vain. Junior sister Luan, which true senior brother have you found? You still have time to take us through the second level dungeon. Maybe I'm short of money. One person has 1,000 points. If you bring 39 people, that's 39,000 points. Haha, how much do you look down on your true brother? I dare not say that I am making a lot of money every day in any industry, how can I still think highly of him? Yes, it is said that even if the true brother is really short of money, if he wants to bring a third-level dungeon with a core disciple, the income will be much higher than ours. Why are you asking so many questions? Junior sister Luan, please hurry up and pull us in so that we can admire the true style of our senior brother. Yeah, the team is almost full, hurry up and get people. In the team channel, the intersect brothers and sisters urged each other. Luan Bingbran was able to assemble the team so quickly because of his reputation as a 1,000-layer Tower of Babel. Such a strong person's combat power starts with at least 1 million, and just clearing a small second-level dungeon is like holding it in your hand. No one would refuse the good thing of being so efficient and getting to know a true disciple, that's why it's so efficient. Don't worry, everyone, the driver has already got on the bus, but he's not the real senior brother. Luan Bingbran smiled mysteriously and glanced playfully at Andong beside her before speaking in the team channel. Brothers and sisters who are entering the team, please come to the portal first. When everyone is here, we will drive. As soon as this statement came out, the team channel immediately exploded. What? Not the real senior brother? The 1,000 layers of Babel Tower, could it be some core disciple? That's fine. What kind of core disciple? How can there be a third-level disciple in the team? Junior sister Luan, what do you mean? This is boring. Please give me your money back. Junior sister Luan has gone too far. Everyone paid the money because they believed in you, but now you are playing this trick. Many senior brothers suddenly turned pale and looked a little ugly. Jushao Sacred Land is only so big. The inner disciples may say it is less or more, but it is not much. If someone does something, it will spread throughout the entire inner disciple circle within a month. When the time comes when your reputation is bad, the guild will kick you out first, and no one will be willing to form a team with you in the future. It can be said that it is difficult to move forward. Therefore, no one will lie about this kind of dungeon copying. The long-term trust has also defaulted to the rule of paying money first and then getting on the bus. But now Luan Bingbran says that the person leading the team is not a true successor. Not even core disciples. After all, everyone can see the entire team's information. Most of them are over 50 levels, and the highest is only some inner disciples who are 60 levels. How can there be any powerful person with 1,000 layers of Tower of Babel? Everyone with livid faces shouted for their money back. 1,000 points was a big sum for their inner disciples. How could it just be wasted like this? Don't worry, everyone, I gave the captain to the driver. If you still want to quit the team after seeing it, I will definitely refund the money directly. Luan Bingbran was not anxious at all, and even Andong felt that this girl deliberately stirred up trouble. As for why this is the case, it's obviously to take advantage of his momentum. Bind her Luan Bingbran to him so that nothing else can be said in the future. At least the senior brothers who got on the bus should be polite to her. But it didn't matter to him. He could see Luan Bingbran's thoughts clearly. This girl is a romantic encounter who came to his door. So far, she has not received any benefit from him. On the contrary, it helped him a lot. If Luan Bingbran hadn't reminded him, he wouldn't even know about the existence of Babel Tower. Naturally, he would not be what he is today. Luan Bingbran Tianchi LV58 transfers captain to Andong Aura Master IV52. After Luan Bingbran finished speaking, she gave the captain directly to Andong. The next second the entire team channel was in an uproar. What the hell? Andong? Is that Andong? Hiss. Aura Master Andong. Really senior brother Andong? When I go, it's senior brother Andong. Senior brother Andong will take us personally. Senior brother Andong, I am your idol. No, bah, you are my fan. It turns out to be the chief disciple of the outer sect, senior brother Andong. What? Outer disciples? Are you all crazy? Senior fellow outer disciples, are you still so excited? You don't know senior brother Andong. Should I know? The team channel was abuzz with excitement, and countless inner disciples, brothers and sisters, were excited. Each and every one of them roared at the top of their lungs and couldn't believe their eyes. Although Andong is still an outer disciple, since that day the Babel Tower has reached the 1,000th floor. After alarming countless true disciples and core disciples, his reputation is unparalleled. Many disciples regard him as their idol and hope that one day they will be as highly regarded as the saint children. However, no matter how famous you are, it is impossible for everyone to know it. Some inner disciples have been away training or busy with other things and have only recently returned. And half a month after Anyang entered the Meteor Star Pavilion, the popularity gradually dropped, so he had never heard of Anyang's name. Looking at the group of senior brothers and sisters in the teen channel who were pretending to be crazy, they couldn't help but look confused. He was even more dumbfounded that they actually called an outer disciple senior brother. But obviously Anyang's fanatic fans don't allow anyone to not know the deeds of their idol. Yu and I quickly told Anyang's deeds. The unprecedented IV level 20 trialist in the trial field. The first person in Sacred Land to climb the ladder to heaven in half a day. The terrifying existence that passes the Sacred Land assessment in 0.01 seconds. The chief disciple of the outer sect who directly reached 1000 layers with IV level 29 for the first time in Babel Tower. Killing the Tower of Babel in seconds, 1000 layers of celestial beast in less than 2 hours. The first saint child, the first person that senior brother who Ruian considers himself inferior to. One incident after another was revealed, and the senior brothers who didn't know Anyang were all stunned. If they weren't all united, they would almost suspect that these people are talking nonsense. How is it possible? Beyond the number one saint child, brother who? The outer disciples killed the 1000 layers of Babel Tower instantly. A senior fellow from the inner sect was dumbfounded, and in his mind there were only 10,000 grasshoppers galloping past. It took me a while to come back to my senses. Okay, the team is full and let's go. Anyang looked at the lively team channel and couldn't help but shrugged. Luan Bingbran covered her mouth and snickered. It was obvious that this was the result she wanted. Come on. Senior brother and, wait a moment, 1 minute. Senior brother and, hiss. It's really senior brother and, I finally see you alive. Outside the portal, many inner disciples were excited and their faces turned red. Soon they all gathered together. Anyang winked at Luan Bingbran and motioned for her to make arrangements. This was exactly what Luan Bingbran wanted, so he quickly stepped forward and started to maintain order. Brothers and sisters, please stop crowding. We will drive when everyone is here. Senior brother and is very pressed for time. It is expected that the dungeon will leave every 3 minutes. If you want to take another bus, you will have to wait until it comes out and pay the fee yourself. Also, everyone knows the rules, but I still want to remind you that if you take the bus to clear the dungeon, all experience will be divided equally, and the points for ordinary equipment that explode will be allocated, but all equipment above epic level will belong to the senior brother. If the Abyss dungeon is released and shipped, everyone's tickets will be exempted. If you have any objections, you can ask me for a refund and get off now. Luan Bingbran shouted loudly and approached Anyang intentionally or unintentionally. Sure enough, the looks in the eyes of the other senior brothers and sisters changed slightly when they looked at her, and even their names changed. No objection, Secret Master can drive now. 3 minutes. You are indeed worthy of being called senior brother and, he is so strong. Although, is 3 minutes really enough? I'm afraid even 1 trip might not be enough. I understand, but the efficiency is certain. Senior brother and is a strong man who can kill 1000 floors of the Babel Tower in an instant. That's true, senior sister Luan, let's drive. The rules are general default rules, there is nothing harsh about them. Naturally no one would have any objections. Senior brother and, let's go. Luan Bingbran heard with satisfaction that she had changed from junior sister to senior sister. She turned her head and looked at Anyang and asked. Walk. Anyang nodded. He was not interested in communicating with these inner disciples. The purpose of bringing them to brush up their books is just to make some money. He was also very satisfied with Luan Bingbran's arrangement. He chose a dungeon and earned 1000 points per person. Excluding Luan Bingbran's tickets and his own tickets, he earned a net profit of 37,000 points for 1 trip. A dozen or so brushes are enough to upgrade all auras to level 10. A group of people lined up to enter the teleportation gate directly and choose their destination. The next second, the light in front of his eyes flashed and disappeared. At the portal, many people witnessed this scene with their own eyes. Someone left quietly with twinkling eyes, and the news spread quickly in Sacred Land. Anyang led the team to clear the dungeon. On a remote main peak somewhere, in a magnificent hall. After listening to his subordinate's report, Jose Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Which copy should be refreshed? Has anyone joined the team? Lu Fengyuan nodded slightly. We have arranged for an inner disciple to join the team. It is said that he is going to clear the second-level special copy of Sky City, and he even promised to go there every 3 minutes. Jose Yuan nodded with satisfaction and began to think rapidly in his mind. As the 100th true disciple, it can be said that his butt has never been stable for a day. Countless core disciples raised their heads and dug in, all staring at his seat. However, he is not too worried about ordinary core disciples. After all, they can become true disciples. He was also the well-deserved no one among the core disciples back then. However, Anyang's appearance out of thin air made his heart jump into his throat. I have trouble sleeping and eating every day. I want to figure out what Anyang's strength is all day long so I can deal with it early. However, after that guy came out of the Babel Tower, he dove into the Meteor Star Pavilion. It is said that his cultivation skills are extremely abnormal. He even went to see it in person. The entire corridor on the second floor of the Meteor Pavilion was covered by Anyang's aura. It actually penetrated the stone door made of the forbidden demon stone in the Meteor Star Pavilion, which is simply unbelievable. But this can only be seen in terms of power, and there is no way of knowing what the actual strength is. Unexpectedly, I finally got the opportunity today. As long as Anyang takes action, he can calculate Anyang's three-dimensional and approximate skill attributes through the damage. It's good to have a certain control over Anyang's strength so that you can plan how to keep your position. He went to Meteor Star Pavilion for half a month, he must have used up all his points. This time he brings people to brush the book, and there will definitely be a third level for the second time. Go and send someone to wait. When someone leaves the team, immediately put them in for me. I want to have all the information about Anyang. Jose Yuan clasped his hands and walked back and forth, then looked at Lu Fengyuan and gave serious instructions. Yes, senior brother. Lu Fengyuan's heart is also extremely complicated. He has been following Jose Yuan since he broke through the core disciples. At that time, Jose Yuan was still a core disciple. It has been several years now, but I have never seen Jose Yuan so nervous and anxious. For some reason, an ominous premonition suddenly came to his mind. If Jose Yuan is determined to become an enemy of Anyang, it will not end well. In another palace, the same scene was happening. Anyang's every move can unknowingly make many true disciples follow suit. Go, send someone to wait immediately. Even if you pay more, you have to enter Anyang's team. Record everything for me, and then send it to me. I want to check and analyze it myself. Send people to me, the more the better. It's best to exceed half. If possible, add money and ask for more. Brush the second-level dungeons of different levels and record all the detailed information. With Anyang's strength, I am afraid that he is not far away from the third rank. In this way, I will prepare a copy of the materials for the third rank and give it to Anyang as a gift, and then send a group of core disciples to invite Anyang at a high price. Open the forbidden area. In the palaces unique to true disciples, orders came out one after another. Immediately, countless core disciples and inner disciples became busy. Jushao Sacred Land is like a huge net. The core is the 100 true disciples in the center of the net. The major guilds are the biggest tools in their hands, and every move can easily affect the core disciples and inner disciples. Many disciples crowded into the portal or mission hall with tasks. Some even directly approached Jia Shaozi, Luan Bingran's roommate, and everyone related to Anyang. I just hope that after Anyang clears the game and clears the level, their people can join the team as quickly as possible. Someone with a bigger plan even sent someone to deliver a big gift. He only had to wait for Anyang to clear the dungeon a few times and reach level 60, and then he could directly complete the third mission. In the wild, Anyang had no idea that his random move would affect the hearts of so many big bosses. He just followed Luan Bingran and soon came to a formation of rocks. The entrance to the dungeon of Sky City is hidden here. The city in the sky has arrived, choose the king level copy. Anyang once again transferred the captain to Luan Bingran for her to operate, and chose to complete a beam of light that immediately enveloped all 40 people. The next second his vision changed and he already appeared in a city suspended in midair. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.